Yes. Well, that'll be the reason then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we're live. It said on there. It said you're live. You saw that, right?
I did see
yes.
that.
Oh, that's
yeah.
true,
Yeah.
yes. Yep. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Is there an everybody?
Yeah,
That was the
there's
first
some
thing
people.
you said as well. Was we're live.
Great. Well, there we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. How exciting for you all that we're here and can see you and so good at
can't
doing
see them.
streams. Well, we can see their words.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If we peer. I wish it would let me increase the font size.
Yeah, I can't see
It's
any of
right
that.
at the other end of the room, and I haven't changed my glasses in about 3 years. And I should.
Yes. Same. Chris, you're the only person among us who can read.
What am I trying to read?
The chat.
Oh, well, I have it on my phone beside me here
Perfect.
rather than on the screen to avoid any,
Wickedly
buffering issues or anything like that.
buffering. You made it sound so dirty.
Buffering issues.
You can see us then, listeners, viewers, right?
And
we
hear us.
Well, that's indeed that's the person in question, because I haven't been able to do an audio test of the video. So if we are much louder than Chris, or Chris is much louder than us, keep rolling comment on that, and I'll just adjust it as we go. Okay?
Yes.
It's hard for Bean to see faces and mouths move alongside the words I'm used to hearing in my ears. Well, clearly,
Not been
clearly,
to a live stream before.
you want to be on our Patreon, where we've
Clearly,
done
yeah.
years and hours of wonderful streams that you'll enjoy.
to look at our heads all the time and that.
You can see Chris's face contorting into all sorts of expressions of rage.
The
and
shapes it makes.
As I read him my bad fanfics from the 90s. Hello, everybody. This is
all
Sonic
over now, though.
the Comic, the podcast. If you don't know, because this is just going out live to my YouTube audience, some of whom may still be alive, I have a podcast about what it was like to be in the 90s when Sonic the Hedgehog came out, which is weirdly completely different to what it's like to know about Sonic the Hedgehog today, to the extent that it doesn't feel like there's really any crossover between those topics at all. But if you're interested in either of the things, do go and check it out. It's frankly the best podcast there is.
Oh, yeah, it's the best one on the internet.
It is. As an objective observer, it is the best podcast on the internet.
Yes.
In that it's the one where I can just sometimes show up and be on it.
Yes.
At my own request.
There we go. I've made
That
myself
makes it the
almost
best
as tall
podcast.
as Jahan with my chair adjusting lever, but not
And
quite.
I just assume that if that's true of me, it's probably true of all the other readers too.
That they think it's the best podcast.
No, that they could just come on it anytime they want.
No.
No? There's
No,
you've
there's a
had-
vetting
Oh, no.
process.
Is there? Okay. You've had a lot of people on that podcast.
Those were all friends and relations.
You vetted all
mostly.
those people.
Yes.
I'll have a word with you about this process
We have a
afterwards.
certain level of quality we need
except-
to upkeep.
We also had Jolene on that time. Didn't vet Jolene.
Right.
That
yeah.
was a mistake.
Yeah,
If anything.
That won't
I
be
don't know if
happening
Joe's
again.
here to fully appreciate
Aw.
the chat busting.
Enemy of the podcast, Jolene.
Yes, if you don't know, folks, yes, that's a podcast Dave and I do. We both do it. Sonic the Comic, the podcast.
Yeah, not
comes
him.
out every.
No.
Jahan's our movie correspondent.
I am.
Jahan has been on the guested on the special episodes that we've done talking about Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and exclusively on our Patreon, the Knuckles TV series. Normally, every episode we talk about an issue of the old British Sonic the Hedgehog comic, Sonic the Comic, that came out in the 90s. But frankly, it was just a sort of situation where just as we started doing it, they decided to start making Sonic films.
Yes.
And it
They did.
seemed wrong that we, the premier Sonic the Hedgehog podcast, for a certain geographic location consisting of our 2 bedrooms, let those movies pass without us talking about them. So we have done a special episode talking about each of the movies as they've happened, interspersed in between talking about something that has barely any relation to them.
I feel like there's an occasional touch point between the movies that we're seeing and.
There's
the
a
thing
few
that
in this
you're-
one.
Then there are a few in this one that I'm quite excited to talk about.
Pausing for a moment.
I'm being
for the
told
final
I'm
video.
very low in the mix.
Yes, now that's unfortunate because you're as loud as it goes. So what I've done is I've turned
all
us
right.
down.
Well, I could just.
Well, I don't think it'll have an effect. I think it's a mixing thing. So I've turned us down.
Oh, okay. Well, I turned
And,
my gain up a bit.
Well, that might do something. How about now? How does it sound now? Whoever it was that said that, Sonic Maniac. I've turned us further down, and hopefully that'll match
And
Chris,
I've
and then you
turned
can just
my
turn.
knob up a bit, but I
your-
don't know if it'll
Well, we don't sorry,
achieve
no.
anything.
We may not need to do anything to your knob. It could be that
I hope
Shame.
not.
Sonic Maniac simply needs to turn their volume up. Right?
Oh, no, I'm louder than everyone else.
Yes, this is Sonic Maniac. This is exactly what I want you to do. How about now? How are we doing now? Is that how's the
We're
balance?
a little bit disordered this afternoon, folks.
Yeah,
Had a little
yes.
delay there. We thought we'd be started by now, but it's all right. So we're just getting we're getting everything calibrated live on air rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
make you the listener wait any longer.
I mean, you still have to wait longer, but while looking at it, so
Yeah,
isn't
Yeah,
that
but you
better?
get to enjoy the cavorting.
It's better, but is it fixed, Sonic Mania? We can get this right. Is it right?
I love this because here you, the audience, can be part of the calibration process.
Exactly. It's like a choose your own adventure.
It's
Choose
like that
your
bit
own
where they
level
tell
of
you
technical
to
competence.
turn up the brightness until the symbol is just visible at the start of a PlayStation game.
Oh, so this is the HDR calibration of the podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hedgehog doing running.
Okay, just a touch louder on our side.
Flippin' hell, bad
How
start.
about
this.
Start as we mean to continue.
that? Should there we go. I went a touch louder. Was that any good? Yeah. Okay, and then I have to wait for them to.
Yeah. At a certain point, I think they're just going to have to
That's
put up
probably fine. Tell you what, from now on, I'm not going to respond to you because we're gonna about that because we're just going to do the video.
with it. They say
That's
it's perfect.
Great.
That's perfect.
If there are
There it
any
is.
further problems, tell me them, and I will silently adjust it, and then give me 5 minutes, and then tell me again if it goes wrong. Because on the final version of this, it'll all be mixed anyway, so it'll be fine. There'll be sometime down the road there'll be an episode. I've got another Serious Disney to it. Oh, this is Jahan from Serious Disney.
Yes.
That's why he's here. I've got another podcast. It's about films, animated films mainly. No, not even. No, live action films
No,
made
that's
by
not
people
true.
who want to make animated films.
Yes, but aren't good at it.
And aren't good at it. And so that's why Jahan is our film correspondent for this,
Yes.
because he was already my film correspondent in real life, as on the podcast.
Yes.
Because Jahan understands films in a way that I don't. I just sit there and it all washes over me, and I have a little absent look on my face.
Yeah, I sometimes see a little trickle of drool coming down your chin.
Yes, and when I'm watching a film sometimes. And here's Abby. Abby's arrived. She's not going to be very much part of the episode today.
Yeah, she
Sorry, I
might
keep
yell in
pulling
from
that
time
away
to
from you,
time.
thinking that it's fallen down. I
No,
just have
I'm
this,
holding it.
I just have this response very automatically. We're on split headphones, you see.
Yes.
So, Abby, would you mind heating my coffee up? Right, well, I think we can begin now. Sorry about the delay. There was unforeseen circumstances where the world toppled over at the exact same time we tried to start it. Oh, she's brought some French fancies. Oh, fancy that.
I can't believe you've done this.
Chocolate
That's chocolate
fingers.
fingers.
Help yourself, Chris. This is for you as well. Right.
Little bits of cake.
Should we mash them into the webcam or into the microphones?
One into each.
Right. Okay.
Probably directly into the fan exhaust on the
Oh yeah.
on
okay.
the motherboard.
Yeah. That's how the internet works.
That's how both the internet and talking about computers works. The fan exhaust on the motherboard. Okay.
Sonic.
Sonic the
Sonic
movie.
the
There has
Hedgehog.
been a third
It's
one.
a flippin' movie.
We are here today, dearly beloved, to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which
The movie.
is a film.
Yes.
There's also a game called that, which I usually talk about. You can find that on the Retronauts podcast.
Henceforth, if we refer to Sonic 3,
Yes.
we will be referring to
Yes.
the movie unless otherwise stipulated.
Yes.
I can't really think why we would talk about Sonic 3 the game in this context because unlike
Well,
Sonic
we're
2,
always
the
just
movie.
always
Unlike
sort of
Sonic-
talking about Sonic 3
That's it.
I mean
in our
yeah,
lives.
but I mean unlike Sonic 2 the movie, which did bear some resemblance to Sonic 2
Yeah,
the
the
game,
game. 3 the
Sonic
game.
3 the movie does not bear any resemblance to Sonic 3 the game. Oh no.
Oh, it's a cup of coffee. It's a good job I didn't move more.
Yeah. I mean, I was
Oh, good.
immediately.
I thought it was a hand. That's what I really was confused when I looked and it was actually a cup of coffee, not a hand. I was like, wait a minute. Thank you, Abby. We can't close this door, so if you want any kind of solace, you'll have to close your door or simply leave. I believe you'll find the link if you want to watch
Why
along.
can't you close the door?
Because it's behind my chair. This is such a small room. We now have a very small broadcasting center because after the move, the main computer is now in just a little pocket of space in the flat, and we would have preferred to do this in the living room. But then I remembered I would need all my processing power to do the stream. Would have been all right if this was just a Skype call, but we're broadcasting.
So what you mean is you can't close the door because your chair happens to be
I'm in the way of it, and if I
Yes,
closed
right.
it, then me and the chair wouldn't fit in the remaining space. I'm halfway out the door now.
Oh, you're actually half out
Yeah,
the door. Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah. Good, isn't it?
So we'll just have to be slightly uncomfortable for the next 3 to 6 hours.
Yes. Speaking of which, at any time, feel free to open the window, close the
jump
window,
out.
put the heater on, anything you want, and jump out.
Yes. Okay.
Definitely not. I'll be jumping out if we go to 6 hours.
No, I think let's panic if we get to. I was going to say 2, but we're gonna.
We're gonna. I mean, how long
No,
has
it's
it been?
like I think in the past we've said 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we usually. I mean, I think 2 should be the
I agree.
panic point. Yeah, two
I agree.
is I think
2 is
we
where
wanna
we
get to,
start
and that's fine,
feeling
yeah.
guilty,
Okay.
and then because we went on for 3 last time.
We did.
Did we?
But about
did.
Knuckles.
No, about Sonic 2,
Okay, right.
and now we'll
We
talk
all
about
last time.
Sonic.
Knuckles doesn't count.
That's all maintenance. So I'm gonna let's start the video here. Let's
Yes.
wave about so that editor Dave can see that it's time.
For us
and
to actually start talking.
let's
anything
start
relevant.
talking about. Hey, there was a film called Sonic 3.
Yeah, there was.
I agree. We're all in agreement on that point, at
That
least.
did
Okay,
happen.
can we shake hands on that? And
We can.
Right. And we've done 2 previous episodes
We
of
have.
this podcast about the previous films.
We
the
have.
2 previous films, and
Let's get a temperature check.
It started on a temperature check.
Yeah. What do we think of the other Sonic films now?
Oh, there's an interesting one.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, hello, Abby.
Where is the link?
I don't know. Chris posted it, quote, everywhere, so
Oh, right,
you'll find
okay.
it in.
Yeah, but you can just go to your YouTube channel as well.
My
and it'll be
YouTube,
there,
Abby,
'cause
my
you- yeah.
YouTube channel. It's just on.
All right, right.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if you can go to a YouTube channel and see that it's streaming, but
You can.
You probably can. Hey, Sonic. Right. So, Sonic
Temperature
1.
check.
I have tried to rewatch Sonic
Okay.
1 multiple times and I've never succeeded.
I see.
And as a result of that, I haven't gone back and watched Sonic 2 because I'm trying to get through Sonic 1. But my memory of it is
Yeah.
still of just great enjoyment. So,
Yes.
so my temperature on it is Sonic 1, no.
Yeah.
Sonic 2, oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Chris.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm dissimilar. I mean, I can't. If I think about rewatching Sonic 1, I think I just watch Sonic 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically,
too, and
the
then
one
I
that
go-
gets to the point.
Me too, but then I go like, oh, I can't do that. I need to know what the setup for the sister is and things like that. You know what I mean? I want to know because I was confused by some things when I watched Sonic 2, so I want that
Right,
context.
yeah,
So
okay.
it hasn't happened. You're more
see.
sensible. You could do that, Chris.
I don't know that I have done it, but I could do it if I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm still not. I'm not sour on Sonic 1. But as we concluded years ago when we reviewed it,
Yeah.
it is just one of those movies.
It is.
And
yeah.
the thing that's in it just happens to be Sonic the Hedgehog, and that makes us predisposed to being charitable towards it.
Yeah.
It's a good version of one of those movies.
Yeah.
But we're not 7.
Well, the main
And
the
you know,
main
if we're going to
problem.
spend our time watching a film, it wouldn't be
main-
that one.
Thank you, Zane. You're awesome too, probably. The main problem with Sonic 1, the movie, is that it is a film about James Marsden.
Yes.
In which he happens to be palling around with something, and that
Yeah.
something happens to be
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
But it could have been anyone.
I won't go that far. Because it is a film about the character of Sonic the Hedgehog as well. If at worst, it's about both of them equally.
Yeah.
And I think it's about him, and Sonic is also there. Or a little man called Sonic is there. A little man called Maurice Wazowski, or whatever their name is. What's the family name?
Wachowski.
Ogilvy.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Mike
Maurice,
Wazowski.
you're doing Maurice
Ogilvy.
Ogilvy Hedgehog.
Wachowski. His little alien friend. I didn't find him to be... I found him to be a very enjoyable character in Sonic 1, but I didn't find him to be comparable to Sonic the Hedgehog in a way that I recognize.
I don't know that he's ever truly got there for me.
Well,
Like well, there will be some chat about that in the course of this
They will,
one because we have some of the approach that's taken with this. Here's a way that I would sort of sum it up, and it leads into sort of what I felt about this film, which was, although I definitely enjoyed Sonic 2 much, much more as a film, and was satisfied by seeing a lot of stuff what I recognized like from the games in the film, like that there Tails and Knuckles and Emeralds and Super Sonic and the Death Egg Robot and all that. Sonic 1 is, I think it's a more successful version of the formula of live action CGI creature in live action, where Sonic 2 struggles to find the balance, I think.
Yeah.
And we talked about that when we reviewed Sonic 2, because you got to keep having these cutaways to Hawaii and this stretch of, it feels like it's really long, but it's like actually sub 10 minutes in the middle of the film where Sonic and Tails just disappear, and it's about
Wedding
the sister
hijinks.
and the husband running around in Hawaii, and it's like and you know, when we reviewed the Knuckles series, that's the problem that the Knuckles series has. We said it at the time, I really only think in the second half of the Knuckles series, everybody acts like it's a universal problem all across the Knuckles series, where you're like, where's Knuckles? Sonic 3, at best one of the three, perfect balance. At no point when watching this film did I ever think, where's Sonic? At no point did I ever think that the action was being dragged away from what we're actually all here to see, to do something to justify the fact that this is a live action film, to feature the humans in an unnecessary tacked on subplot or role. So in that way, it's actually much more like Sonic 1, but it was sort of, you know, flipped around in verse. The balance in Sonic 1 and Sonic 3 is better than the balance in Sonic 2, but the stuff in Sonic 2 that you're actually here for is so much better than the stuff in Sonic 1.
Yeah, I think I would mostly agree with where you're coming from there. I basically, you know me, I like everything in this series so far to varying degrees. Like, I think that the first one is, like you say, a genuinely really good example of a pretty lowly genre, but it does it well. Then yeah, I agree that the second one has its own strange balancing problems, but like they go at everything with such gusto that like I have no problem with it. I remember the thing that you said about Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 to an extent is you struggle to feel like you're watching truly Sonic the Hedgehog the movie. You're watching a movie
certainly with 1. That's how I came away. 2, I think came away pretty satisfied. 3, I was watching very specifically Sonic Adventure 2, the movie. Yes.
Which is, I have to say, insane. Like,
completely.
It is insane that this is the cultural point that we have reached now. We have just passed Christmas 2024, and one of the big, all quadrants, you know, general appeal movies released in cinemas worldwide was a more or less straight adaptation of a Dreamcast game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
finally had its time in the sun.
a little bit. I kind of felt, as a Dreamcast owner, I felt a bit vindicated. You know, I kind of felt like, see?
Yeah.
You know? I know that the Dreamcast burned bright and quickly at the time, but it did feel a little bit like a... No, it counted, though. This isn't just us freaks who remember the Dreamcast and remember it fondly. It's like, no, that generation of games had something about it.
Something that's become clear to me that I don't know was necessarily clear to me before about like Sonic fans as they are today.
Yeah.
Is that I think that Sonic, of all things, Sonic Adventure 2 is their Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I think that is the thing they think of as the main Sonic game, and the best Sonic game, and the nostalgic one.
Yeah.
And as someone who was already quite old when it came out, I was already at uni when it came out, and that's where I played it.
Yeah, but we were 20 that year, weren't we?
Yeah, so I had like a good time playing through it the first time, and thereafter I've thought of it as a huge mistake and a load of rubbish. I don't know. It's interesting to see that that's the one, and it's made me wonder about why is that the one? Because it's not just about they were the new generation of Sonic fans were the right age when that came out, the way I was the right age when another one came out. That's presumably a big part of it, but we're talking about like a wide range of aged people who have this same opinion, and it makes me think that it might just be sort of the last reliably half decent one.
Maybe.
Well, it's certainly it's the moment before.
Yes.
Like it's pretty universally agreed by normal people that it went bad for a long
It went
time.
off the rails. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I do still maintain Sonic Adventure 2 is not as good as Sonic Adventure 1. It's
No,
not as an
I
enjoyable
completely
playing
agree.
experience.
100%.
But
Really?
but it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
Interesting, because like watching this, it kind of really brought home to me the fact that like I guess I never really thought about this prior to this, but I guess in a lot of ways Sonic Adventure 2 is my Sonic game. Like it's the one I've played the most.
Yes, because you didn't play the Mega Drive games.
No,
at all.
I didn't.
You just played the Dreamcast.
I don't
game.
think I've really talked about my particular Sonic history.
Well,
on
you
this
mentioned
show,
it
have I?
on the second movie episode, which is how I know it.
Did
Because I
I?
was listening to that yesterday.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Well,
Well, that's what you said. You said
Yeah.
you didn't have the Mega Drive games,
yeah.
but you had the Dreamcast.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, I was a Sonic fan is too strong a word. I was a Sonic admirer for longer than that.
Right.
When I was growing up, I had an Amiga and then an N64.
I don't think I knew that.
No?
I don't think so.
Yeah, me and my brother were Amiga guys.
Whittly-diddly.
There you go. Yeah, so we had those, and well, certainly, definitely when I was still on the Amiga, had a great time within that ecosystem. But the one thing when you're a kid with an Amiga is,
Don't have any friends.
well, no, people had Amigas back then. This was the days
Yes.
when people had Amigas.
Yes.
But the thing that you miss out on is the glory days of the mascot platformer. Like, yeah, Zool, but no one cares. Like, the mascot platformer that is actually...
What, Super Frog? Chopped liver?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Compared to the real ones, yes.
Yes, every time Amiga came close to a... Guys, that's what it was. It was,
Yeah.
guys, we've got a mascot.
Go on
Here's
now."
one. Do you like him?
Look, it's
Some Lemmings.
it's
Actually,
the
that was
Lemmings.
quite a good
The
one.
Lemmings is good.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Colin Quaver, but
No, yeah, that's a good pull.
but
Correct.
like, no, the Amiga cannot claim Colin
No.
Quaver as their mascot.
No. The fact that they can come close to it just tells you things about Colin Quaver as opposed to anything
Yeah.
else.
No, I think it tells you something about the Amiga as well.
It paints a broad picture, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But there was a real sense back there that if you are a kid and you are attracted to the aesthetic of the mascot platform back in those days, having an Amiga, you're very much the little match girl looking in through the window at the feast.
That's slowly dying.
A slowly
exposure.
dying explosion. That is the experience. And yeah, look, I made do with Alfred Chicken and Robocod or whatever, but
Robocod, there you go.
Robocod's a good game.
That's the one.
But he's
the
not
mascot. It's not a
Sonic-
very good game.
He's not Sonic the Hedgehog, is he?
It felt like a good game to us at the time, and that's what matters, isn't
That's where we were at. That was the second match.
it? Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, like, I always was jealous of Sonic. I was jealous of the people with Mega Drives who got to
Rightly
play
so.
Sonic. And so when the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon came on, I was like, great!
Yeah.
I can, in some way, imbibe Sonic now. I can be connected to Sonic media. And yes, I know that there are question marks over the quality and relevance
Not
of,
in this house.
of the Adventures of
Love
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Adventures.
But to me, that was the one that seemed close enough to like.
I mean, this physical house, not this podcast. Chris doesn't like it very much.
I know, yeah. I was trying to take his feelings into consideration. But yeah, like I was very, like I looked at Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and was like, hey, this is Sonic the Hedgehog enough. I can make do with this.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I felt similarly with Zool.
In a way that I absolutely didn't feel about Sat AM.
Yes.
Because I looked at that and
Yeah.
I was like, that's clearly Sonic but wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas Adventures, it's like, yeah, but that one has like Tails in it, and that one has the music from the games.
And Robotnik, and it's just drawn differently is all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's got like robot monkeys. What do you want?
What do
It's
you want?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's got a grounder.
Exactly. So I watched that.
Got Chaos Emeralds eventually.
Did it?
Yeah.
All right.
Eventually. You have to
Clearly
stick
didn't
with
watch it that far. But yeah, so
We'll have a
from
screening.
then, I was like, yeah, you know what? I like Sonic. I only ever play his games at someone else's house.
Yeah.
But I like Sonic. But I was always jealous of being able to actually
Yeah.
have a Sonic game. So then, when the Dreamcast came out, we got one of those, got on Sonic Adventure. And this is where I want to kind of challenge you there. Because, yeah, look, I played Sonic Adventure, enjoyed it as the technical showcase that it was at the time, and hey,
Yeah.
cool, I'm getting to play a Sonic game. But it wasn't, like, good at the time. Really? Was it? Even?
Well,
Oh, I didn't say that.
Difficult to answer. I thought it was, yes. But I didn't have, like, the real games that were out at the time. I had a Dreamcast and Sonic Adventure, so I was missing out. What was coming out at the time? Like, I'd never played a Tomb Raider, for instance. I
Yeah.
had never played a, demo on my PC. But what came out around then? What games were normal then? GoldenEye?
Well, yeah, but that's it. You
97.
had an N64, didn't you?
Indeed.
Actually, yes.
This-
Come to that.
There you go.
Yeah, like home to a dozen better 3D games than Sonic Adventure.
I must have
Probably
thought.
more than a dozen.
But yeah.
Then I must have weighed it against those and thought it was good. Yes.
Yeah.
So I certainly had Mario 64 and Zelda. Those
Yeah.
I had. And
Just
Banjo
those two
Kazooie.
on their own.
Yeah.
Surely is enough to
At
tell
the
you that-
time, I found it did live up to those. Now, why would I have thought that?
Yeah.
There's a
Because you like Sonic.
'Cause I
And
like
as
Sonic.
we all know, that's a terrible brain poison
Yeah.
that we all have to live
terrible
with.
burden to bear. It's a. No, I agree. Like, it's. I'm not that big of a fan of Sonic Adventure either. It's not like
Sure.
I'm saying I'm a
Yeah.
hater of Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure 1 was good. No, Sonic
Yeah.
3 and
Yeah.
Knuckles was good.
Yes.
The good
Um,
Sonic, yeah.
Sonic
yeah,
the-
my judgment is wholly retroactive. I didn't
Yeah.
play them until buying them, I think, on the PS3
Oh,
store.
wow, okay,
like,
God.
I mean, that's still like 15 years ago
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. But
And
you know,
they're
I
even
didn't
worse.
have them for the game. Yeah, and they're even worse.
Yeah.
It's slight. It's you've basically played the games. It's fine. But yeah, here's what it is.
Those games, I would love it if they'd instead
Hmm.
of like remaking Sonic Generations, try remaking those.
I know.
Yeah.
So that they're
Especially
actually good.
Yeah.
You can do it now, like you know.
Wake up. Yeah. Sonic. Here's my opinion on those. Sonic Adventure. Yes, they're both incredibly flawed.
Yeah.
And they're flawed in different directions. And the direction in which Sonic Adventure 1 is flawed is it's earthy and it's atmospheric and it's an attempt to make a Sonic game, and then loads of other tech demo rubbish. I'm not taking big into consideration when I say that.
Okay, I am.
Right, sure. Whereas Sonic Adventure 2
Yeah.
is, and again, just concentrating on the Sonic levels and the shadow levels that go with it.
Okay. Very selective reading, but yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I think,
just for now.
but I think that's sort of a key thing is that Sonic Adventure 2 does seem like it looks at Sonic Adventure 1 and tries to pare it down
Yes.
to just the 3 play
Yes.
styles instead of the 6 play
Yes,
styles. But it's just that the other 2 play styles are insufferable, whereas at least in Sonic Adventure 1 there are 6 whole different things going on, and that's sort of the point of the game, whereas Sonic Adventure 2 is like, I don't want to stomp around in a robot. And why have you brought back these unbearable treasure hunting levels? What do you
And
think
made
that
them a
was the
lot
one to
worse.
bring
Much
back?
worse.
Much worse.
I liked the treasure hunting levels in 1.
Same.
But not in 2. Right, but to compare the Sonic levels, in Sonic Adventure 1, it's got this atmospheric, like, it's physics-based, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
In Sonic Adventure 2, it feels so much more like an arcade-guided, dare I say, on-rails experience.
Yeah.
I've talked about this elsewhere, but it reminded me of nothing more than Crystal Kingdom Dizzy on the Spectrum, the one in which they they threw away the way the game had always been up till this point and made it very the jump was just wrong and different. In Sonic Adventure 2,
Yeah.
you don't spin attack, you go and turn a somersault. It's really weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing felt off. And then you get used to it, and it is fine, and it's a perfectly
Yeah.
fine game, and it's fine. But no, as a lingering impression, Sonic Adventure 1, with its promise, that was it.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 1 had promise. It went, what if we did this? And I went, yeah!
Yeah.
And then Sonic Adventure 2 went, what if we did this? And I went, oh. Instead of taking the stuff I liked from Sonic Adventure further, it
Yeah.
took bits that I wasn't so keen on and took them further, and that was it for the series. It went in that direction.
Yeah, because I think Sonic Adventure 1, like, the tone of Sonic Adventure 1 is quite unique, I think. It's quite distinct. I think the closest they've come to trying to recapture the tone of Sonic Adventure 1 was probably Sonic 06, really.
I think that's what they were aiming for.
comment.
Which is... It's trying to go for a certain, like, grandeur and, like, mythicism, and, like, there's a certain... If you think of, like, the Mystic Ruins or whatever in Sonic Adventure 1, it's trying to create this certain kind of spirit of spiritual adventure
Yes.
that, you know, it's quite unusual within that series.
Yeah.
And, you know... And
But
when-
it followed on from what the thoughts we'd been having following Sonic 3 and Knuckles with all
Yeah.
of its stuff about Master Emeralds and Hidden Chambers.
Yeah.
And it was like,
That's
okay.
part of the thing about Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 is like Sonic Adventure 1 is very much the transition point.
Yeah.
Not just in a real life 2D to 3D sense, but Sonic Adventure 1's story, what little story there is actually, because if you actually really break it down and lay it out chronologically end to end, like nothing really happens.
No.
Except up at the very end, where the chaos stuff happens. But Sonic Adventure 1 is about essentially answering the questions that any kid is going to have left over from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. What happened to the echidnas?
Yeah, yeah.
And then Sonic Adventure 2 is the start of the next essentially, and maybe that's why it's like that generation's Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because it's the next big narrative event in the Sonic timeline, as it were.
Yeah.
Where and it's not really Sonic, it's Shadow.
Yeah, and it's
Because that storyline then continues through Heroes into Shadow's own game, and then he was playable in Sonic 06 as well. Like, that's what that run of games was about, really.
Yeah. It's also like I find it's also quite a tonal reinvention as well, because, you know, obviously the Mega Drive games were what they were, and then Sonic Adventure has its own tone, whereas Sonic Adventure 2 was the debut in the series of the kind of punky anime melodrama.
Yes, exactly,
tone of
100%. I mean, and that is... It's 2002.
Yeah.
Anime has only really just come in on American television in the last couple of years and fully taken over like the kids' pop culture zeitgeist with your Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then the absolute slop that's being shoveled in to fill the cracks on Fox Kids and 4Kids.
Dragon Ball Z.
I'm thinking more like Mon Coley Knights, Flint the Time Detective, things like that.
Don't even know what
because
those are.
Never heard of it.
Exactly. Nobody does. Anime is the thing, and Sonic Adventure 2 is pure anime melodrama in its story. And this isn't. Like, that's what's... I mean, I really spent some...
There's a film to talk about.
we're talking about a film, remember? So let's get back to that. Like, I rewatched the film last night in preparation for this, because it's been a month.
Yeah,
the
same,
last time we
yeah.
did these, we reviewed them right after, but we didn't
Well,
have time
because
to-
this one came out, 2 days before Christmas or something?
Yeah,
we were all off with our families.
Yeah.
But this one, there is, and I hesitate to say this about the CGI creature runs around in the real world movie. There's a real intelligence to the adaptation of Sonic Adventure
Absolutely
2.
there is.
What is in this movie
Took the words right out
and
of my
what
mouth.
is not in this movie.
Yeah.
Before we get too deep into that, we've started each one with a general taste test of what we all thought about it. And there was some kind of progression, wasn't there, that you were keeping track of? Can you remember? Of like the first one, we had like one of us liked it, the other one didn't, and maybe we swapped over.
Yeah, the first
think
one...
I didn't like the
you
first
didn't like
one.
the first one, and the rest of us basically did. Second one, Chris was the naysayer.
Yeah.
Those balance...
I wasn't
cool
the
on it.
naysayer.
You
I
were.
enjoyed it. I
You
enjoyed
shat all over it, frankly.
Yeah, sure.
But you were
But
the one who
we-
was most hung up on the balance issue.
Yes.
Yeah, but we just thought it was... Basically, the balance issues that you had, Chris,
Yeah.
we didn't mind because we were just giggling too much. We just thought it was. We just
enough, fair
appreciated
enough.
the elevation of silliness that it
Yeah.
went down. What do we think about this one?
I mean, I think Chris has said, really. Like,
Yep, you seem to love it.
Best one of the three.
yeah.
Yourself?
I basically love this as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think it's got half an hour of the weakest filmmaking in the whole series, followed by an hour of the best.
The first half
It's
hour.
interesting you say that. Abby
Yeah.
said something similar last night. She was like,
Yeah.
because the way we watched it, it just shook out that we actually watched half an hour.
I see.
Then the next day watched
Okay,
the rest.
yeah.
And yeah, we noted that there was
Yeah.
an improvement on the second viewing. But so I've got a slightly odd one, which is that I had two completely different responses to it.
Oh, okay.
When I saw it at the cinema before Christmas,
Yeah.
I came out almost depressed.
Oh,
Abby
Yeah.
was squealing and bouncing
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in the cinema and out of it. She had an amazing time, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know what you've seen in that,
Yeah.
that's so good. And the more I tried to confront that discrepancy,
Yeah.
the wider the gap became, and I was just like, I guess I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again and loved it.
Right, okay.
So now,
Good.
now I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I won't go as far as I had a better time watching Sonic 2. I'll say that. The
Fair enough, I could see that.
the love that I had when we saw Sonic 2 was like what Abby experienced for Sonic 3.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen it again, I don't know what I was on about when I saw it coming out of the cinema. I'm just
Do
like,
you remember?
that was great.
Do you remember enough to sort of articulate what it was that went wrong first
One
time?
of the things that went wrong is, and this isn't. I hope I can say this without it sounding like this was my whole overall problem that I had.
Yeah.
But specifically, if we focus on the coolest bit in the entire film, which is the bit where one of spoilers, right?
Yeah, duh.
This
Yeah.
is all
yeah,
spoilers.
spoiler.
We're gonna just.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
There's not gonna be a point. We're just from now on gonna be spoilers. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was Super Sonic or Super Shadow, but
Yeah.
one of them punched the other one to the pyramids.
Yes.
That to me is the coolest thing in the whole film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
When-
yeah, the whole fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was watching that this time, I was there going like, "This rules! Oh my god, this is great!" At the cinema, and I wasn't doing this in a grumpy way. I was going like, "Yeah, and now they have to play Live and Let. Yeah, and now they have to have Super Shadow. Yeah, and now they have." I was
Yeah.
just watching them tick boxes.
Yeah.
This time, I could see it as a film,
Yeah.
and it was great.
Yeah. You actually
I'm-
engaged
no,
with it.
I get. There is something about the way this is made, where this isn't a crime, but I think it frustrates people like you and me, where the director's overt affection for
Yes.
that particular source material, comes across so clearly in what is included in the film versus
Yeah.
what was not included in the previous films. You know,
Yes.
oh, you had to play Live and Learn. You absolutely had to play Live and Learn, did you? Why didn't you feel that about any
Thank you.
single
Exactly.
piece of
Yeah.
Sonic music in
Yeah.
any of the previous films?
Yes.
You know, yeah, it's even nice in this one at the very start when he does the race with Tails and Knuckles, and they play the
It's nice.
okay, where was
Where was this?
any of that in the
Yeah.
previous two films?
Why did you get
yes, okay,
slavish
they
about
played-
using the old music just to the point in the games where the music turns really bad?
Thank you. Exactly. And honestly, I think that's what I was. I think that may have been. If there was
I
a
do. I agree
subconscious
with you.
thing, I didn't feel grumpy. Maybe I did. I think subconsciously I was like that the whole film. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, great. So we've got to get everything right about the bad one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely.
I get it. Yeah.
That I think is, and that because that is a hang up that I've had
Yeah.
about the whole series.
Yeah.
Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, both films, I've been sat there going like, why don't I get the stuff I like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What-
It's like even in Sonic 2 when they play the drowning music, buried so completely in the mix to be effectively inaudible
Buried
unless
so
you're
much in the
replaying the yeah.
Buried so deeply in the mix that when, because I've just been listening back to our Sonic 2 episode. and
I think
we-
in the show we said we didn't hear it.
No, we
we said
claimed
why
that
didn't they play the
use it.
drowning
Yeah.
music? Yeah.
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 But this no, you play the shitty Japanese rock song
Yeah.
5 times in the film.
And
like.
Adapted
let me-
into a leitmotif for the whole movie.
let me just broach this badly. When it comes in and and it's supposed to be the fist pump, they're playing Live and
Yeah,
Learn
yeah.
moment. It's a bad version of Live and Learn. There's no drums in it, so it never feels cool. It's like a movieized version, which I
Yeah.
like.
Yes, I preferred that. Sorry.
Fair enough. Which I liken to the intro to the Hitchhiker's Guide movie,
but then,
where they
but
didn't
then I
use the
also
drums.
think I preferred it because it wasn't the real one. If you know what
I
I mean.
wouldn't have wanted
because I'm
the
like, well,
real
at
one.
least
Yeah.
because it was like. It was like, well, I mean, it's the sort of movie where they might as well just play the thing ripped right off the Dreamcast disc,
Yeah.
fuzzy audio roaring, and it might as well. But the fact that they actually epiced it up with a movie score version, I was like, well, at least they did that.
Factually, I agree with you, but I just didn't think it landed in a way because the point of the music drop there was like awesome, and it was like less awesome than the one I know already.
Well, I know I didn't find it to be less awesome, but I thought it was odd that they played it when Sonic and Shadow did their dap up and became super, and then took off, then cut away to Robotnik and Gerald fighting. Then we went back and then ramped up playing the song again.
Yeah.
Like, save it for one big moment, guys, you know? I did think it was odd that, as Jahan pointed out, they turned it into a leitmotif for Shadow. Introduced from like minute one of the film as we see Maria strumming the chords on the guitar.
That.
Yeah.
I liked it in principle. I thought it was very strange then, and that in none of Shadow's flashbacks did they actually make her playing him the song be a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, here she is. Here's Abby. Have you got a comment?
No.
Oh. Just gracing us with her presence then. Hello.
It's steel treats.
Oh yeah. We've not touched the
French
treat.
fancy or fingers?
Fools on French fancy.
Right, and your payment is, can you heat my coffee up again?
Do you want a fresh one?
No, not really. No, there's like half a cup there.
But I will say the little post credits bit where it was like dun, 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 and then I did actually full on in the cinema go dun, 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 dun.
Well, clearly none of us are
Like,
immune.
yeah, okay, that got me. Yeah. Anyway, no, but you know what? That's just us fully like don't leave don't stop watching the live stream, folks. That's just fully us being two grumpy old
Just
men
old.
and our issues sort of surrounding Sonic history of this game and the blatant affection that is shown by the creators to this that is not being shown to our
That
Sonic
we know
games.
is better, yeah.
To the real
And that's
Sonic
all it
games.
is.
Yeah.
That did not, whereas I think it did, obviously, cause you to not enjoy your first experience
Maybe
with the
it
film.
did.
I'm definitely glad you enjoyed it on the second watch through. Generally, no, I had to. And this is the thing, like,
Coffee.
back when we were talking about what do they do for 3, and it was sort of like, it was obvious, everybody sort of agreed that we either do Shadow or we do Metal Sonic for the third one. It's the evil doppelganger movie. And I really realized, I hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about the film after I saw it in the cinema, but when I was rewatching it last night, it really landed on me. Oh no, this truly was the only choice. This was not just the right choice just from it's Shadow and it's Sonic Adventure 2 and people like that, but because the themes that exist within that film actually enable this story to feel like the third part of a trilogy of the themes that have run throughout the previous 2 films that were created for those films.
Yes. Incredible, genuinely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I got this from the first trailer that they were gonna do this smart.
Right. Based on what?
Based on what they showed in the trailer of how they were treating the adaptation, they build an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 out of themes and character concepts that have been in this since Sonic Movie 1, a film that is just made to be an Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It's incredible that such a shambolic production, and I don't just mean about what we know about the character design. I mean, like the resulting film, everything. It doesn't feel like a film anyone made properly.
Yeah.
Has focused down into something that works so well now.
Yeah. And not just
Like,
works
even
well,
when
but
you got
works as a straight adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah.
You know, a highly
turns out that
specific
the
thing.
It's like if
I mean,
SatAM had done an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 and it had been perfect.
And it had worked.
Yeah.
It made any sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris, you were going to say
like
something.
I'm sure some, like, obviously there will be dorks who are annoyed by the
There won't
changes
be
that they've
dorks.
made to it, and the big one of course not, but the big one is like Gerald being alive instead of
Yes.
well, you know the story of Sonic
Yeah.
Adventure 2, Jahan, right? You played it now.
We
so
will
we
play
don't have
it,
to
yeah.
explain that.
Yeah, don't worry. Please
Yeah.
do not waste any
is-
time
is-
explaining the plot of Sonic Adventure 2.
no. Is Gerald being alive?
Yeah.
That's a big change.
Isn't it
But,
crazy
like,
that when I was listening back to our podcast for the second movie, and we were in it going like, well, obviously it'd be great if they have Jim Carrey as both characters, but it's a shame they can't be in the same scene because one of them's dead. Why were we clinging to that? I don't know.
I know.
And they fixed it in this film. He has one line where he's like, "Yeah, I'm old." That was it.
Yeah.
I've been licking
The
this spike,
implication
so
of
I'm
that being
100.
that- yeah. Yeah. But by keeping him alive, then they're able to tie it all the way right back to the ideas introduced with the movie version of Robotnik in the first film about him having had a terrible life with no family and nobody to love him, which was just part of that first movie, where it's like Sonic and Robotnik were both orphans, and Sonic found a family to love him and everything. And even by the end of the second movie, when they're still pushing that, and it's like now Tails and Knuckles are also both James Marsden's sons, and it's getting a little weird at this point.
Yeah.
But then they actually it feeds right into this third movie, and it's themes of family.
The moment I was the most comfortable, and I really settled in and went, oh wait, they're going to do this well, is when they, and this is obvious, I should have foreseen it, but is when James Marsden says like, oh, what would you have been like if you hadn't had the life you had?
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to Shadow, and you're like, great!
Yeah.
They're doing this well!
They managed...
Like,
go on, Chris.
Yeah, because I interrupted you.
The thing about Shadow the Hedgehog
Yeah.
is I really wanted to sit and think about Shadow, because we've notoriously, not us specifically, the entire internet has for 20 years made fun of Shadow the Hedgehog for being
he's
an edgy
stupid.
boy.
Yeah.
And it's like only in this last year have they unironically decided, no, you know what, he's cool. And
He's cool and he was always cool. Thank you.
That's not true. But the thing about Shadow the Hedgehog is, and I really sat with this.
Yeah.
It's 2002, talking about anime before.
Yeah.
Shadow the Hedgehog represents to the 2000s what Sonic the Hedgehog represented to the 1990s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog was the we've talked about it on the show so many times. He was the platonic ideal of 90s cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disaffected, trying to act like nothing mattered and everything was cool, and he was just not bothered about nothing ever. Shadow the Hedgehog is the 2000s emo cool. Oh, I'm really hurting inside secretly, and it makes me so brooding and mysterious, and that's cool.
If you remember, all games were doing this at that time. This was the era of the big pivot into the dark and edgy.
Yeah.
Jak and Daxter did it. Prince of Persia did it.
yeah,
So many series
Do you
had
remember
like...
the Bomberman one? Do you remember that?
I think that was a little bit. That was sort of they got in on that after the
Horse and bolted,
the horse had bolted that point. The expiry date on that trend had already passed by the time they did Bomberman Year Zero.
Yeah.
But like, no, this was the era of that, and I don't know whether Shadow was the. Well, no, obviously the Shadow game came later, but the idea of like,
Version
no,
4, yeah.
you know that thing that was previously light and breezy and fun? What if it's dark and edgy and cool now? What about that? Will you
What if he
continue
had a
buying
gun?
for the next 10 years if we do that now? It was the era of that. I don't know if Shadow was first, but he was definitely part of it.
And what a future investment they made.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't mean a future, you know what I mean? An investment that paid off in the future.
Yeah. Chris, you were finishing a point.
But I don't think I've ever been fair to him like that before. I don't think I've truly stepped back and considered him like that. Because what gets in the way of me thinking about Shadow is the towering mountain of hat upon hat upon hat that is the origin and story of Shadow
Yes.
the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which this movie strips to the fucking bone.
Yeah.
And it's so much better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you step back, the story of Shadow is a being whose friend died, and that was the loss of his innocence.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yes.
Forget all the genetic engineering, the half alien DNA, government prototypes,
The bio
space
wizards.
aids, army raids. Leave it all. You cut it down to that. That's the core of the character. And I've never been fair to him like that before, and I've never thought of him like that before. And this film got that and made it the parallel with Shadow. And for that reason, finally, Shadow is actually able to feel like a counterpart to Sonic.
Yeah.
Whereas in the games, he's a hedgehog for no reason. It's total coincidence that Dr. Robotnik's grandfather genetically engineered a hedgehog, and nothing ever draws attention to it. This movie does play with that a little bit, but ultimately the answer is because he's not genetically engineered, he's just another one of Sonic's race. There are questions that hang over him about where he comes from. That meteor that he arrives in is incredibly Black Arms coded. If they want to do the Black Arms stuff,
Which hopefully they don't.
They shouldn't. But if they want to, they've clearly left themselves the space to do it. Maybe in a tie-in comic or something, if they really feel that they have to.
In a Paramount Plus show.
But instead of being, we're in the games, it felt like bad writing. It felt like it was just coincidence. There's no rational in-story given reason for why that is. Any questions that remain about Shadow after this movie feel like unanswered ones that there might be a real answer to, that just sort of hang over the character to be answered in the future, like where he comes from and the deal with his powers and everything. And he's able to actually feel like a counterpart to Sonic, because we have these stories of how they were raised differently, put it that way, you know. And then we'd been joking, I'm sure we said it back in the second movie review, that James Marsden would get the Amy role out of Sonic Adventure 2, which was given to Chris the human in the Sonic X cartoon, where he would be the one to talk Shadow around. No, this movie, let Sonic do it.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone think of that before?
Because it's a level of earnestness and emotional honesty that the Japanese game version of Sonic the Hedgehog does not possess.
Yes.
You can't just be the wind running through life without a care if you stop and have really sad conversations on wastelands.
This is the thing. What they have done is they've looked at Sonic Adventure 2 and asked themselves the question of, like, right, what out of this is just gibberish bollocks versus what out of this is bits that we can use to tell an actual storyline with themes. And they've taken those bits and used them intelligently, and they've come up with a story that feels very, very tightly focused and very intelligently focused around this idea of family, like the meaning of family, the way that, like, positive relationships with your family / found family can guide you to more positive, better choices that are true to your inner self, and counterpointing those against the dark shadow version of yourself who doesn't have that and who hasn't made those choices. The thing that I thought was really smart is that they doubled that up, not with Shadow but also with Gerald Robotnik.
Yes.
And, essentially had it that Sonic and Robotnik both meet a kind of screwed up version of themselves who's made worse decisions in their lives. And they both kind of, like, look to that and are like, actually, that's not really what I want to be and what I'm all about.
I never saw that coming, that they would do that with Robotnik.
Yeah.
And again, I probably should have, because what it comes down to, while you're watching this, there's a lot of like, oh yeah, of course, this is the only way you could do this. But then I listen back to our predictions for it, and we would, we made some correct predictions, but overall we were kind of far off the mark because we hadn't considered that they'd be really good at making films this time.
That's it. I don't think anything in the previous two films gave us cause to think that they would approach the material as intelligently as they have in this one.
And with this level of discipline, and with this level of, like, well, no,
because that's the thing is we were moaning earlier about the overt affection of the director, but it's the good kind of affection where it doesn't allow him to be blinded to it's not just about ticking boxes and putting in absolutely everything that needs to go in because it was in the game. It's about looking at what was in the game and saying what works.
Yeah. I mean, just a microcosm of, like, just a really bloody smart choice is the little tip of the hat they gave to BioLizard.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like...
It's like saying, we know.
Yeah, we know. We know. And no, we're not going to do the BioLizard, obviously. But we will gesture to the idea of BioLizard being a counterpoint to Shadow that causes Shadow to reflect upon
Yeah,
who
while
he is.
while setting up and bolstering an important theme that
Yeah.
we're being clever about.
Yeah. So it's like, you look at it and it's like, oh, that's a funny Easter egg. It's like, no, they actually managed to honor the thematic purpose of the BioLizard
The BioLizard.
without having to do the BioLizard. That is incredible.
True though.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Genuinely.
I can't believe.
Yeah.
I can't believe they've done this in a lot of ways. How did we get here? I just don't really understand how we got here.
Something about the progression that all of this has done, like, again, I suppose this is just me waffling on again about the way it's focused in to become a better product, but, like, one of the things that I noticed in our previous episode is that me and you particularly, Jahan, fell about laughing anytime we said Gerald Robotnik. And that hasn't happened now, because they've taken that joke on board, and now it's their joke.
Yeah,
it's not at their expense.
Again, I was laughing so hard in the cinema, but I felt with them when he introduces himself as Gerald Robotnik.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my Walter Matthau voice.
At least, I tell you what, they were right never to say, because this would have still made me laugh, Maria Robotnik.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. It's like, you felt that with... I remember you saying that in the first movie. Dr. Robotnik.
Yes.
It's a name that lets all the air out of the balloon, gravitas-wise, ultimately, doesn't it? Like, I guess, look, probably not the case in STC. In STC, I think you're encouraged to take the name Dr.
We're
Robotnik.
able to take it seriously somehow, yeah.
But
I guess because...
It's a comic about
Yeah.
a cartoonman.
It's
It's
the
not
same-
live action.
It's
Yeah.
the same
Real
medium
person.
that allows you to take seriously the name Doctor Doom.
Doctor
Yeah.
Doom.
And you just
I knew you were
can't.
gonna say Doctor Doom.
Batman.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But yeah, that's true. But anytime it was like in the first movie, every time, especially in the first movie, with the way that Jim Carrey's makeup design and stuff is underplaying his Dr. Robotnikness.
Yes.
Anytime he comes on and introduces himself as, my name is Dr. Robotnik.
Yes.
It's very funny.
Yes.
As it was in this film when a man turns up and introduces himself as Gerald Robotnik.
Yeah, but only in the sense that it this time it only felt to me like the film was going, be funny, wouldn't it, if his granddad's name was Gerald Robotnik.
Yeah.
In a way that's it. Sonic Adventure 2 didn't think it was
Didn't
funny.
think it was funny.
They thought it was really cool and serious.
They thought it was the most
remember
serious thing in the
Gerald-
series
Yeah.
up until this point.
Yeah.
Gerald Robotnik was executed by firing squad after, genetically rewriting Shadow's memories to make him forget the circumstances surrounding Maria's death so we could use him as a weapon to destroy the Earth.
And you
Whereas
compare,
this time, he's just alive and lies to Shadow. Simple pimple.
And you
very,
com-
very easy to do.
you compare that death of Gerald Robotnik to the death of Gerald
Oh
Robotnik.
my
in this
god!
film.
I forgot! When I watched it the second time, I bellowed. It's so funny. After all that, after a whole film, and after he's just done something completely heinous, we've come to the point where we basically love Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah.
And he ejects him into space. And yes, all right, in this film, it's fine to be in space. It doesn't affect.
Seemingly
Yeah,
it's fine.
I didn't notice it I didn't think about it when I saw it in the cinema. When I was watching it last night, I was like, are they having a conversation on the film?
But after
It's
all
fine to
that,
be in space when you're super. It's fine. Don't
Yeah,
worry about it.
yeah.
But when
Apple
you're just
Pilot.
Tails.
when you're just Tails, he kind
he
of
took a
looks as
big
if he
breath.
might have
He said
held
he
his
took a-
breath. Yeah.
Still.
Took a deep breath.
Nevertheless. But anyway, after all of that, and he's about to literally destroy the entire Earth, like somehow Jim Carrey going, I'm a bad guy, is in that moment genuinely like, oh no,
no.
the whole of the Earth is going to be destroyed. After all that, someone sticks him up the arse with a pin, it does a big fart, and he flies into a bug zapper and disappears in one frame. It's amazing! It's the most incredible. I know they had to fight for that. It's so funny. It's
It
so
does
funny.
speak, though. It is funny, but it does speak to the humor that fills in the gaps surrounding all of this other stuff we're talking about.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is wall to wall shite.
Well, this is it. That's why.
Disagree.
But that's why it's so good. They've come to it, and they've come to it via the Knuckles series
Yeah.
as well. But particularly Sonic 2, they've come to a point where the film is now a celebration of stupidity.
Yeah.
The series. Whereas Sonic, the original Sonic Adventure 2,
Yeah.
and the first Sonic movie were both like, "Is this good? Do you like? We think this is good. Do you like it? No,
Yeah.
it's stupid."
Yeah.
Now they can do something stupid and go, "Get it?" And we go like, "Yeah, that was stupid. Yay!"
I don't know, man. I don't think things like Konichiwa
Oh, that was
will
awful.
ever
Sure.
make me smile.
That
That's what I'm
was
talking about.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Agreed
is a
hard.
lot of stuff like that in there.
There's some.
Yeah.
where
The thing is, there's some bad one-liners.
Yeah.
But it's most. I think the thing that is.
Yeah, I hate Konichiwa.
Yeah, that's no good.
yeah, that's the worst thing in
Yeah.
the film.
But it's just that's just a bad choice of laugh line.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the construction of the comedy in this series, I feel like they know what they're doing. Especially having watched the Knuckles series.
Yeah.
Now, because like
Knuckles series feels something different to these films at this point. I feel like
Yeah,
I need
it's
to rewatch
it
it.
is
but,
and
yeah.
it isn't. Like, because I think the thing that the Knuckles series has in common with all of these other movies is that I find the Sonic series is a little bit unique in terms of this type of like, genre adaptation, fan pleasing sort of, like fantasy action adventure movie making. Insofar as, we all talk about Marvel humor, and we all talk about like the fact that all of these series these days are about like wisecracking and like doing, we're gonna do a little joke, we're gonna do some Whedonisms, we're gonna do the whole "he's right behind me, isn't he?" kind of laugh lines or whatever threaded through things, and that's a certain format of movie making that I don't think that the Sonic movies are doing. I feel
No.
like they aren't just putting one-liners in, they are putting comedy sequences in. When they are doing a funny bit, they're doing comedy filmmaking. Like, they're filming it like
no,
they're
it's not funny, but they're doing it.
Sure, but that's the discipline of it.
Children's comedy.
Sure,
filmmaking.
children's
the kind
comedy
that's not
filmmaking.
funny.
Maybe so, but they're but they are doing it.
Like the extended Robotnik dance sequence.
Love it.
I mean, not funny.
middle.
But I didn't. Yeah, it's like it's not fun. I'm not laughing at this. It's not funny.
I am laughing
but I
my
am
head off at that
enjoying
scene.
what you're doing here.
Right.
I am laughing my head off at that scene. Like, second time I saw it yesterday, I went
I
to the
enjoyed it better the second time I saw it.
I went to the cinema for
Probably did
this
too, actually.
both times, and the second time, obviously, second time you need the bathroom, you know when to time it. I timed my bathroom break so as not to miss the Robotnik dancing sequence, because I'm like, I want to watch that again, because that's incredible. I would never skip that scene, nor would I ever skip his dancing scene in the first film. And I feel like
Oh, I don't know.
the reason that I think that they have committed themselves properly to actual comedy filmmaking of a mode within this series is because Jim Carrey's there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The way they're and now I remember when we talked about the second film, Dave, you said at the time that you were very happy to just look at the film and see that's Dr. Robotnik up there.
Yes.
Now, I disagreed with you at the time, just from my personal viewpoint, and I definitely could not disagree any harder after this third one. Perhaps because they had Carey playing the two roles, and even I admit I did laugh pretty good at the joke that actively highlighted the fact
Yep.
that he was playing both roles.
Very funny.
Yeah.
But
I'm pro
it
that
was-
moment. A lot of
Yeah.
people
Yeah,
anti
that
that
was-
moment. I'm pro that moment.
I enjoyed that moment, but things like the dance and just the fact that it was the two of them together. I mean, could you imagine two Jim Carreys? If there really were two of them and you put them in a room together, yikes! And that was, and it's that sort of awareness, like they're doing this because this is Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That prevents me from seeing Dr. Robotnik. I just see Jim Carrey capering there,
Not me.
for good or for ill, however, whatever, that's a value neutral statement put out into the world, whatever your opinion of Jim Carrey may be,
Oh,
Go on.
the,
I just really like the yes, I speak French.
Oh, that was so
Yes, that
funny.
was good. I forgot that gag,
That
and
was
I laughed at
really
that
funny.
last night.
Yeah.
Avec moi, yes.
Because it's not only funny when it's a callback. It's initially funny.
Yeah.
I laugh out loud the first time, and then they do it again, and it's
Yeah.
just as funny.
Because
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is funny.
I don't-
He delivers that line in a way that is funny. Someone else could do it and it not be
Yeah.
funny. Like, say, Ben Schwartz could do it and it might not be funny.
Yeah,
Not a
sure.
slight against Ben Schwartz. I like Ben Schwartz a lot, but
So, do you know, and I'll reiterate my same opinion, I like Ben Schwartz a lot. I think he's a perfect voice for Sonic. I think he's really good, and I think this is his least entertaining property. I think I'd love to hear the
Yeah.
DuckTales Ben Schwartz or the Parks and Rec Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic more than this. And I think it's because it sounds like he's trying to talk more slowly than is natural to him all the time. Like, it just sounds scripted to me.
I don't know about scripted, but there's a real I am acting sense about some of it whenever he has to deliver. Because there are moments in this and in the previous films, but I feel like more so this one, where he has to deliver meaningful lines that have an air of, right, okay, everybody, I'm gonna do some acting.
Stop laughing now. It's serious
Stop
now.
laughing.
yeah.
No, I'm just acting. You
Yeah.
can hear the whole tone of the voice change.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah,
then
but it's Sonic.
difficult to reconcile that with Konichiwa.
While I agree with you, I preferred the acting moments because at least then I feel like he's being overly directed, and an energy he normally has is missing from his comedy lines that I think he would be capable
Yeah,
of
I
putting
can
there.
agree with that.
In
Sure,
the same
yeah.
way where it's clear that a lot of the material written for Dr. Robotnik, specifically in the first one, was not going to be as good if it had been anyone else playing the character, and that Jim
Yeah.
punched it up a bit. I want them to allow Ben to punch up some stuff because
Yeah,
I know he
I mean,
can.
and he is a pretty improvisational actor, though. But at no point do I ever. Yeah, I was thinking that as I was watching it last night. At no point do I ever get the sense that he's improving it,
No.
because
None of the lines
like,
feel like they came from him.
nobody's improving Konichiwa.
No.
And if they are, they're like, no, guys, no, let me give you something else. If that was someone scripted
Yeah.
that.
The thing is, though, it's Sonic, though. Like, a certain sense of stilted, stage managed, okay, now you need to be serious and, tell the children about, like, getting away from pedophiles or whatever. That feels of a piece with me to Sonic, and I know it's not
It's bad though.
It's not
that
intentional.
wasn't good then.
Yeah, but like, it's what I expect from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
I expect to have a slightly edges sanded off corporate mascot
Ah, well, yeah.
feel
See,
to
well,
him.
that's the thing. Whenever it's our Sonic, with Sonic the we don't expect he's
Yeah.
all edge. Sonic
Yeah.
the comic Sonic, that's one of those fundamental differences where people do have so many. There is no one picture of Sonic the Hedgehog that everyone holds in their minds as the true Sonic. It just doesn't exist.
Well, going back to Dr. Robotnik briefly, like, with regard to the 3 performances that he has across all 3 movies, and thinking about them properly, I sort of feel now that he's doing, like, quite a specific character, like, in the first movie, that you may or may not agree is Dr. Robotnik, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's just Jim Carrey dicking about.
No,
He's
I
trying
agree,
to
yeah.
portray specifically this personality type that's like, like you said, he's this guy who's grown up on his own, he's friendless, familyless, and he's just developed this real, like, misanthropy, like an intellectual snobbery and hatred towards everyone and everything that isn't him, and like the only person
Yeah.
who he even deigns to speak to is Agent Stone, and that's really only to sort of be as an audience to his amazing genius. Like,
The line that jumps into my head is from the showdown at the end of the first film where Sonic, I don't even remember what Sonic says, it's not the point, but he says something sassy, and Robotnik says, confidence, a fool's substitute for intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Viciously presses a button, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah, that's not a Jim Carrey line, that's a character that's being played here.
yeah,
But
and I feel like that character in that film is quite distinct, and I do feel like in the second film that character gets quite lost.
yes, I agree.
Like, in the second film, I do kind of feel like it's more Jim Carrey in Grinch mode.
He's doing his Grinch.
Yes.
Yes.
which
100%,
which
yeah.
is what I would characterize Grinch mode is. He's just taking each scene and trying to do it as funny as he can. for that scene.
Jim enters his Grinch era.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not that
does it
worried
as-
about
as
knitting it all together as a person anymore.
Big and unlikable is
Yeah.
what he starts doing
Yeah.
with film 2.
But in film,
And you know, to be fair, there is an in-universe rationale for that, which is he's going fucking barmy
yes.
Yeah.
in between. But your point stands.
and yet I do feel like in this film he pulls it back a little bit to touch base again with the character he
Yeah.
established in the first film, and I think
can't
that's probably
disagree.
a function of the fact that he's now playing two different characters,
Yes.
so he has to actually properly differentiate them. But I can track that character from movie 1 to movie 3 in a
Yeah.
way that I can't really in movie 2. And it's a thing that I therefore like about his portrayal of Ivo Robotnik in movie 3, that then does make, like it brings it back on that level of like, yeah, no, I do feel like I'm watching a version of Dr. Robotnik rather than just Jim Carrey clowning around. Whereas in the second one, I think he was just clowning around. Yeah,
You
like,
know, it's kind of interesting because, like, in the macro picture as well, beyond Carey himself, it is interesting how that through line between the films elevates or makes essential the first one in
Yeah.
a way that I'm not sure it necessarily felt after 2
No.
started doing things right. But now they are genuinely, bizarrely, a real trilogy of films
Yeah.
with a through line and themes and shit.
and callbacks like both kind of thematic to like little one-off lines to
Yeah.
little moments like shots. They're calling back to shots from the first film. Like,
Are they?
yeah, like there's a
yeah.
scene. There's a scene in when you first meet Dr. Robotnik in the third film where he's surrounded by all of his crap on the floor, and there's an overhead shot of him spinning around in his revolving chair, like scattering all the rubbish everywhere. That's a direct callback.
He has just spent ages putting different kinds of sauce all the way down his burrito, then taking one nibble of a corn and throwing the whole thing away. I didn't smell that the first time.
No, I didn't remember him throwing it away the first time. I remembered the gross.
Yeah.
That's very 90s in and of itself.
Yeah.
Very 90s kids comedy. That gross of the egg,
Yes.
essentially
Gross of the egg.
pooing out sauce.
Love it,
down
though.
Yeah.
down the-
So the shot of him.
Yeah,
with
the
his
shot.
ribs,
There
that's
was
in
there was
Sonic
a
1, I think.
mirrored shot in the first one of like when he's at his terminals and
Right.
you go to an overhead shot of him and he spins round it and makes the kind of the touch screen panels of all the displays around him kind of light up.
Right.
It's like there's all stuff like that. There's the steamed Austrian goat milk
Yes.
callback. There's the bit where he tells Gerald Robotnik to look up and punches him in the throat, and it's like, left yourself open. That was a call. He does that to Agent Stone in the first movie.
Yes, the first
See?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered that. Yeah.
There's all sorts of little bits like that that are just directly like referencing back to the first movie specifically.
Huh.
And the thing that like I think really really helps that first movie now is the fact that they've tied so much of the emotional core of this whole thing and his relationship and the way he's processing loss versus the way that Shadow is processing loss back to Longclaw. A thing
Yes.
that when we watched it in movie 1 just felt like this is so arbitrary. This.
Yeah, this is the little bit of loss that we need to have as the prologue to put the character on the downswing that the movie will then be about them coming out of.
Yeah. Whereas, the subsequent two films have really, like, doubled down on baking that in as, like, no, that's, like, ground zero for this character's emotional development. And I love that. I love that they took a film that, it did well and it was liked well enough, but they must have got enough feedback from fans and, frankly, the likes of us and critics and so forth, that they very easily could have treated movie 1 as the booster rocket that you discard
Yeah.
once you take off.
And it kind of felt like they were with movie 2. There was
Yeah.
an element
Yeah.
of that.
Whereas movie 3 is like, no, that's part 1 of this trilogy. And that movie sets up all of the emotional groundwork that you're going to need to understand Sonic and Robotnik's journey in movie 3, and to establish all of the emotional stakes that we need for our adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. How
But
have they
as well,
done that?
and with that goodness, they're able to distract us from the bits that, in fact, they have discarded.
Yeah.
Do we remember that the first film was all about a cop and
Yeah,
how
there's
he wanted
literally
to go...
no mention of him being a police officer
No.
in this at
No.
all.
That was
You
his
see
journey.
Wade on the roof of the building, and that's
Yeah.
it. But that's so purposeful in this day and age. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
very deliberately dropped
Well,
that.
It was honestly the one thing that was really like at the time when Sonic 1 came out, that was suddenly right then
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
unpopular protagonist.
Yeah.
And when they'd made the film,
Yeah.
it just came across as an everyman.
Yeah.
And so it was really weird that his whole journey in that film was like, I want to go and be a big city cop where we
Yeah.
can really beat some people up.
Exactly.
And that, gone. That's not
Yeah,
who
yeah,
he is
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It didn't happen. Forget it. It's
Yeah.
In a brackets complimentary. Like
Yeah.
they
Yes.
have in fact managed to sort of fix that in a way.
Yeah, and pivoted back to the Sonic series default, which is the kind of the militaristic authorities are suspicious
Yes.
and to be and not to be
Yes,
trusted.
even that, which
Yeah.
is right out of Sonic Adventure 2. Well,
Exactly.
no, not right out of, but it's built on the idea taken from the game that Sonic is at odds with Gun because they have mistaken him for Shadow. And obviously, we don't have any of that mistaken identity nonsense
Oh, thank
because
goodness.
it's broad daylight. Look at them.
They just don't look that similar, do they?
Just don't. No.
The government knows who Shadow is
Yeah.
and who Sonic is, and they know they're different people, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Yes, there was a moment, wasn't there, where and it was the moment where Tom is getting carted onto the ambulance, where Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are just walking about
Yeah.
outside this hospital, and there's people everywhere, and no one's going, "What's that?"
Yeah, I mean, and there probably should have been.
There
to be fair.
probably should have
Just
been
in the background.
But the way
Yeah.
the way I took it was that anyone who had gone like, "What's that?" Someone would have gone, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Government files.
Sonic the
it's
Hedgehog,
a
mate,
thing
would
we're
you not
doing."
know?
Yeah.
Or that, yeah. Or it's just like they're known properties in the world now. And
Oh,
they-
after the previous adventures, yes,
Yeah.
I suppose so. I forgot.
Well,
Didn't
he
even think of
did
that.
do a big thing in the first one, I suppose, with the giant robot and everything. The
Yeah.
first one was fully,
yeah.
contained to a small town, but the second one was
second
there
one.
was this mountain-sized robot.
Very big robot. Yeah, didn't think
So
of that.
now they can just freely walk around Station Square.
Yeah.
And around just a bunch of normal-looking people, and it won't be weird.
No.
It'll be boring.
Yeah.
It'll be boring and pointless, and you'll wonder why that hub area is there. But it won't be weird. Yeah, I can't be the first person who's made this observation, but literally just imagine telling someone after that first trailer where we'd be now. Yes, just imagine it. It's like, don't worry.
In 2 films
In
time,
a few
they'll be
years'
doing
time,
Sonic
they're going to
Adventure
do a
2, don't
really,
worry.
really faithful adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. And it'll not only be quite good, but it'll be like a mainstream box office success, and
Yeah.
it'll be the highest rated video game movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. The whole series will have nothing but good
Yeah.
favor among the general public.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks of it as basically a good thing.
Yeah.
It isn't embarrassing.
Yeah. And the third movie will be Sonic Adventure 2, and Live and Learn will be in it.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves will be Shadow.
As predicted
As
As-
predicted.
yeah.
on our review of
It was
number 2.
yes. It went. It was so interesting. Like
Yeah.
I first became aware of that as I can't remember if we said we wanted that before I saw people say they wanted that.
Yeah.
But it went from there so quickly to him being hired that I even wonder if that was a planted opinion. But it was so perfect.
They do seem very tuned in
Yes.
to what the audience
Yes.
wants. Not so tuned in that they're mindlessly giving it to them, as evidenced by everything we've been talking about up
Yep.
to now, and what they know what not to put in.
Yep.
But it's the two things, isn't it? Keanu is Shadow, and Kerry plays Gerald.
Yeah.
That was.
It's like, of
Yeah.
course you did those.
Yeah.
Everybody was saying you should do those, and you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what needed to be done.
I mean, on Keanu as Shadow, it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously it was the right decision.
Yes.
It was completely
Yes,
the right
obviously.
decision.
Yeah.
It's-
The other big one that fans were calling for was Hayden Christensen, and he's shite. Everybody made fun of him 20 years ago for a reason. That reason was true. He's not a good actor. He shouldn't have done it. He was bad in Ahsoka. Not Ahsoka, Obi-Wan. We saw it. He was bad in that too. He's not good.
Now,
Thank
Keanu
God
Reeves.
they didn't cast him.
I
Keanu
disagree,
Reeves-
but Keanu was better.
Keanu
And
Reeves,
100%.
he has my heart, and he always will.
Yeah.
I think he's a brilliant actor in Bill and Ted, and not really since, but in a way I don't mind. He
Yeah.
has managed to take the kind of acting that
Yeah.
would be appropriate for a character like Shadow,
Yeah.
and make it such a brand that no one takes the piss. It's
No.
a fun thing when you point out shortcomings in that kind of performance coming
Yeah.
from Keanu. And I don't know how much of it is a deliberate, like, yeah, this is how I be. Like, we've all seen the clips of him in the recording booth going like, I'm delivering my lines.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to know.
Everybody step back. Step back. Do a bit of acting now.
And it's impossible to know whether that is like the best acting he can do or
Yeah.
a choice that he makes. It doesn't. I
Yeah,
love him.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
matter. He's one of everyone's favorite people because of all of these things about him.
Like the line reads are a little affected sometimes,
Yeah.
but just generally the low, growly tone is just right for Shadow.
Yeah,
like
that's
I mean, Shadow's current voice is in wider media. I mean, is actually the worst voice in his history. Even though he's been done by like a real actor who's in proper things now instead of video game man from 20 years ago, it's just not very good. Which is a shame, because I like the actors. Kirk Thornton,
Right, yeah,
from
yeah.
Digimon days, he's a voice actor. He's a real, but versus some Joe Blow who they got to do the Dreamcast voice. But the
receptionist
Dreamcast
or
voice had
whatever,
a better handle on how the character should sound, and this is the best I think Shadow's ever sounded by Keanu in this
Yeah,
film.
of course.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a perfect pairing of actor and material as well. Because yeah, there is that slight beloved crapness about Keanu,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so there is about,
About Shadow.
You know,
It's an
Yeah.
exact perfect match. It's brilliant.
yeah. And the way that Shadow comes across in this movie is it's just right because it hits the same way that Knuckles does in the second movie of like when it wants you to think like this guy's a badass and what you're seeing is the most badass thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm like, yeah, you know what, it is.
Yeah, I believe it.
I
I
believe
understand why people liked Shadow now.
Yeah.
When I watch this.
I was
It's
never
like,
annoyed
yeah,
by him at any point.
But then there's so many other times where you are asked to lock in a way that I don't think the games do that much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like certainly in this movie where you're like, yeah, but he's just a little Sonic, and therefore very cute.
Yes, but they managed to do that distinctly from how they covered Knuckles in the second
Yeah.
one, which was that sometimes he was the most badass warrior in the world,
Yeah.
and sometimes it was hilarious that he was calling himself that because
Yeah.
he was such a silly guy.
Yeah. Whereas here they just
the
like,
eternal contradiction of Sonic.
whereas here they vary between, him being sort of angry hedgehog Vegeta or whatever, into he's just a sad little guy. He's just a sad little guy, and all he wants to do is, hang out with
Destroy the world.
destroy. Well, but because they took away his first option,
Yeah.
which was do some roller skating,
Yeah.
like eat some popcorn, and anachronistically enjoy the music of the Traveling Wilburys 15 years too early.
Oh, I didn't do any maths on that. Is that
No.
right?
That is, yeah, that's right. Because I like the Traveling Wilburys,
Sure.
and I like End of the Line, and I was like, oh, I like
doesn't?
that.
That's-
I like they
yeah.
picked that. I like that Shadow is canonically a Bob Dylan fan now.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. When did End of the Line come out? 1988.
Yeah.
When was this set? Explicitly 50 years ago. 74. What the hell? Was there no songs from the 70s?
The thing is, what film or television production or advert that you've seen in the last 5 years didn't feature Mr. Blue Sky? That was probably the alternative.
I thought you were going to say Mr. Blobby. That's going to be even more anachronistic.
Mr. Blah comes out Dave's mouth. That's what you're saying right away.
She puts the record on. She got the one vinyl pressing.
Yeah. What's the insinuation there? Do you imagine I don't have it on vinyl?
No, that's true. Yeah.
Wait, I don't think I do.
Is there one?
Yes! Is there one?
But I would expect you to know this with certainty based on you having it because it exists.
Now
or
that
you-
now it's brought up, I think I was just tape and CD. So I guess I can't swear by producing it from my shelf now. So I could, for example,
Yeah.
the Supersonic HWA single. It may not have been on vinyl. So sorry about that, everybody, if I was wrong there. But I think it probably was.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody.
Well,
Just
they
in
missed a
general.
trick there.
And I don't know when Mr. Blue Sky came out. That might have been 1970, later than full. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, but if
Might
if
be
they,
98. I don't know.
if they missed the cutoff by a couple of years, then who cares?
Sure.
But 1988, that's
We
like
can
almost
only imagine
the
then.
90s.
We can only imagine then that it's one of these situations where the putting on of a record happened in the flashback, but the specific needle drop is non-diegetic, and it's simply to illustrate the point of music.
But that's silly.
Yes.
That's very silly.
Wait, I've got it. Gerald Robotnik is
Yeah.
enough of a genius that he was able to preempt the Travelling Wilburys.
Or the travelling aspect of the Travelling Wilburys.
The time traveling Wilburys. Whoa! They'll be coming back in the next film.
Oh, wow. we'll get to that later.
Yes, let's get off this.
Actually, I'm going to have a loo break. You guys do a dance sequence
Okay, right.
because I've
Also
timed it.
keep
Special. No,
talking
just
if we
continue.
felt like it.
How limber are you, Chris?
No.
Good. Me neither. No, I don't feel comfortable just continuing without Dave.
Oh, well, I suppose so. But I will say that I just, generally speaking, enjoyed that this film gave me cause to stop and think about Shadow.
In a positive
no-
way.
Yeah, but like in a oh, Abby
Oh my
stepping in.
gosh. We've swapped spouses, one for the other. Oh,
Oh, I don't know. Oh dear, Dave's gonna be mad at me.
Abby, have you ruined everything?
Have I?
Oh
no.
I don't know. Have you?
Have I? Have I ruined everything?
I mean,
Abby, give us your 2-minute review now
My
that you're
2-minute
on the
review.
air.
I really liked it. It was well good. It made me happy.
Didn't it make us all happy?
It did. It made me very happy.
What was your favourite bit, Abby?
No.
Ah,
Okay. It's the little. I really, really like the sequence with Maria, the flashback where you see her and Shadow being
Oh,
friends.
we're back on the Travelling Wilburys. Sorry,
Yes.
Chris.
yes, there we go. It organically flows in the final edit of the podcast.
I just thought that was a very nice sequence, and very quickly they just made me go, yeah, you really like Shadow now.
Yeah.
You just, you've seen him being badass for the first bit of the film, and now here he is.
Having a nice little time.
Have a nice little time.
Roller
and you
skating,
like
yeah.
Maria.
Yeah.
Like came out of that going, oh, I think she's great. I'm really sad she died now. I'm really sad that I used to make jokes about it. Wouldn't it be funny if we see a little girl getting killed in the next Sonic movie? And now I feel bad about that.
I mean, that's the thing.
She was cute.
That sequence does an amazing job of breathing some life into
Yeah.
the
Oh,
hoariest old cliche backstory, which is what Shadow's backstory
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It is so generic,
Yeah.
painfully so. And the only reason that you would find it meaningful when you were first playing Sonic Adventure 2 is because you were 8.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
you'd
because you
never-
hadn't run into the concept over and over and over and
Yeah,
over
yeah.
again in your
Yeah.
life, you know.
Which is why it was
And
easy
Maria
for... Go on.
she's always just been a little anime girl-shaped empty vessel
Yeah.
to pour Shadow's
Pathos into,
characterization
yeah.
into, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not a lot more to her in this, but it's the simple removal of her being such a sickly, frail child who only wants good things for all the nice people in the world. I wish that I could give my love to the whole. None of that.
Yeah.
She's just a normal kid.
Yeah.
And the first thing she does is make fun of Shadow's face.
Yeah.
Just goes,
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think the kid playing her just nailed it in in a few very small scenes.
Yeah, I think so.
Just
Yeah.
was immediately likable, and realistically, yes, this is how a little girl would react to finding a cute little
Yeah,
animal.
because he is a cute little animal,
Yeah.
and I think that this
You're
film,
going to be my friend now, and
Yeah.
you can't say anything about it.
this film
Again,
leans
I
into
think
this in a way that I
that
don't
there
think they
was-
normally do with Shadow.
I think there was like the exact right amount of Maria in this, but like I said earlier about the guitar and not factoring that into the story at any point. Like no, someone's just pointed out in the chat there, just as I was thinking it. So Jazz MM says, "I really love them sort of thematically making Shadow skating an homage to Maria too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like,
I'd like to
okay, so
make more of
she
that.
she has roller skates, which is obviously intended to be like to parallel Shadow's rocket shoes, but like why why not have like Gerald make rocket shoes for Shadow based on Maria's suggestion, which I think might have been made canon recently in Shadow Generations. I haven't played it yet. I'm not sure.
I think there's that
They're
diary.
setting something up there that they don't. Yeah, I think it's in the diary. They're setting something up there that they then sort of don't follow through on. There's a bit of missing connective tissue. It's like
Yeah, they get
they do a whole
80%
thing
of the
about
way to
setting
it.
up her skates and telling and getting young, not dead
I like
Olive.
it. I also like the bit where they do the pose from Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh yeah. Sometimes low-hanging fruit are delicious.
It's true. The low-hanging fruit can be the sweetest.
Yeah.
I put a cup on her head, but she'd already stood up.
Careful.
Get them phones in ye.
Oh, am I in a danger zone?
Yeah, I think Abby wheeled the chair back a little bit.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Right, I can hear you now, Chris. Hello.
Yeah, we were just talking about Maria there and how like they spend time setting up those. You gotta see her. Setting up.
Yeah, so many Maria songs, and they didn't need any of them dropped.
Like they take time to set up the idea of her having the roller skates, which are this clear parallel to Shadow's rocket shoes, but then they don't make one follow on from the
Yeah,
other,
they don't
like
make
the
it
idea that
explicit. They get
Uh-huh.
80% of the way to a really cute idea and then don't do it.
and then don't follow through on it. And it's the same way with the guitar.
I
There's no
suppose
like
so,
the idea that this song that plays in Shadow's head, say, is something Maria played for him. His leitmotif is just something she strummed out on a guitar. And then
idea
we never
being-
actually see her do that.
The idea being that when Live and Learn drops, that's in Shadow's head. That's the theme tune he plays when he's being badass in his own mind.
Well, she'd only ever played it in that acoustic plunky
Yes,
plonky way,
yeah,
and then the
yes.
rock version is
Or do
that's
you
the
think there
remix
should have been a
Shadow
scene
did
where
in his
she's
garage
been
later.
working on that song on the acoustic guitar, and then she's like, right, here's my electric guitar. I'm
Yeah.
going to play you how this song should go. And it turns out that Maria is canonically Crush 40 in this universe.
Yeah.
No, I would have liked her a lot less if that was the case.
Maria was crushed before she got the phone.
Oh.
She was.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
so that's another change, obvious, that they make to the source material, which is like, again, perfect.
Yes.
It allows them to kill a child
Yeah.
on screen
Which
in a
is
film
what we
for
all
kids,
wanted.
but not in that moronically overdramatic way.
I got in such a flap with Sonic fans in the lead up to this, because including friends, including people I know or like or in the Discord or whatever, because I was like, they're not going to shoot a child in the head in this film. And the response that always came back when I said that was like, they've got to. And I was
No, they
going,
just have
they've
to
not
kill
got
her."
to. I didn't even think they had to kill her. I
They've
was-
got to not, in fact.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to do that. And I didn't know the answer. I didn't have a better answer. But I was like, well, they're not going to do that. And so they'll simply come up with some other way that Shadow can be affected. Maybe she just isn't. Maybe she's just old and that makes him sad or something. I didn't know what it was going to be.
No, I always figured they would kill her. I just didn't think she'd be gunned down in a hail of bullets.
Well, the way they did it.
Because this is the thing, is that's not what happens in Sonic Adventure 2. It
It's
cuts
what
to
happens
black.
in our hearts.
It's implied, but you don't see it. You do see it in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Do you? You see her get shot in the head on camera?
She
no
gets
cutaway?
shot in the back while running away. She doesn't actually
Still.
get shot in the head. That's
Okay,
not
fine.
what happens
Okay,
in
sure.
the lore.
Well,
but yeah.
and I thought it was because I'd only played Sonic Adventure 2. Okay, fine. But what I thought the way that they handled it was so elegant because it meant that the people who shoot her wanted to shoot her, tried to shoot her.
Yeah.
Well, you said on the Chris podcast.
Yes, I did.
Podcast, you said the last time we did one of a Chris about this. You said the joke you made was shot in the head by the Olive Garden guy.
digitally de-aged Olive Garden guy.
And as it turns out-
I fully believed that they would do that because
Yeah.
he's so old.
Yeah.
And he knew what Shadow was at the end of Sonic 2.
And as they
I knew
turned
they'd
out-
put the young version in there. And what other reason would you have to put him in there if it wasn't to tie it together
And
like
it turns
that?
out to be he stops them from doing it because he's going like, are you trying to shoot a child in the head in a Sonic the Hedgehog film? And he stops him from
Less of
doing
it.
it. And also that scene...
But Shadow still blames it.
yeah.
Hence all the other
I thought it
plot
was sort of
implications for that.
unfortunate that we didn't get like more out of that.
Yeah.
Because the implication, when you sit back and think about it, is that he died in that attack on the Chow Garden. Because
Yes.
he doesn't appear again after
Yes.
that.
No.
Well, he
They
dies.
do- they
doesn't
have
he?
the bit where-
He dies on screen, right? Like, we see
Well,
him
not
die.
clearly, no, because
thought
they
we
never
did.
say he's dead. They just say he was like attacked or whatever.
Oh.
And then when he turns up, when Tom puts the hologram on and pretends to be him, Ritter's a little surprised to see him, but not come back from the dead surprised.
See, I
Yeah.
thought that was a directing problem. I thought the story was that she thought he was dead and that was why she was doing what she was doing.
I always assumed he'd just been hospitalized.
Right.
Same. But then you get to the end of the movie, it's like, oh, did he just die?
He died. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
But
And
and that-
it does feel like there's at least maybe well, there's no room for a scene of reconciliation between him and Shadow. So
Maybe
you
it
know,
was-
what do you?
yeah.
yeah, the final scene is him making peace. You know, like when Dr. Robotnik does his call to Agent Stone at the
Yeah.
end, like Shadow's doing a call to Olive Garden guy
Yeah.
in hospital. I'm sorry I wronged you.
But it means that they get to have him there, which makes sense. He knows what Project Shadow was. He stops the thing that we all knew they couldn't do in the film from happening.
Yeah.
Facilitates it happening anyway, but just not in that way.
Yeah.
Plus, that scene actually kind of doubles up as the Gerald execution scene because they're also
Yeah.
firing at him, and explains how he might have survived that and still be alive. It's all very elegant. Was I supposed to recognize the actor playing the young Olive Garden guy? Because I did, and I don't know if
so.
that was like a
I didn't
celeb
recognize him.
drop.
I didn't recognize
No.
him. So
Perhaps I don't, but I feel like I did.
He was a familiar looking guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought he looked a little bit like the actor Kyle Chandler, but it wasn't him.
Perhaps that's
No,
who I'm
no.
thinking of. I don't know.
But I will say, actually, like, the Olive Garden guy reminds me of something that I mentioned earlier, which I do want to sort of come back on, which is, for all of what we're saying here, I do think that the opening half hour of this film is shaky.
it's a bit messy, isn't
It's
it?
messy.
It really jumps from thing to thing very quickly.
I think they and like, I'm forgiving of it in retrospect because I now recognize that it's just a function of there's a lot for them to set up before
Lot
they
to
really
set up,
get
yeah.
going. But that first half, basically the whole Tokyo, everything in Tokyo, everything up until Jim Carrey turns up,
Basically.
is very rushed. And they're really jumping from exposition to exposition. Things are just sort of hurtling kind of a little bit too fast. It's all a bit messy. And, like, I actually ended up feeling quite bad, specifically for the guy who plays Olive Garden guy.
Yeah.
Because I quite like him in the previous two films as this, like, guy who's kind of serious but has this sort of stupid aspect to him. And he didn't get anything to play with this
Yeah.
time. All he
No,
got
he
to
came in, dropped some exposition, and died.
quite flatly as well. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like he seemed a bit uncomfortable doing
Yeah.
this kind of just like dry exposition dump. I felt like he might have, been. Can we pause for a second?
Pause for
Yeah.
a second.
Oh, sure. Okay. Just a moment, folks. Phone call.
Yes, hello.
You maybe will step out. So you're not on the stream. You can still hear. Well, that is actually deceptive about how little depth there is there on the screen. Oh, you turned the thing off on the stream? Oh, sorry. That's why I suggested he would want to leave. He can stay then. And I guess, well, he's gone out now. We're just muted. We're still live, yeah? Oh, they can hear me. Oh, right. So, well, hello, everybody. It's just me here now. I'll say this to you, and then I'll say it to them whenever they come back. He might have felt sorry for the guy who played Commander Walters. I'll tell you how I felt sorry for it was poor Kirsten Ritter, who got whoa, flip it, woof, yow, jobbing. No big contracts going about for her lately. We'll come to that when Jahan comes back. How's everybody doing tonight? What are we all up to? The burden of entertainment has been placed upon me without a script. I don't enjoy this. Yes, JSMM says there in the chat, unbelievable that they squandered the opportunity for him to get an Olive Garden gift card out by accident before giving Sonic the keycard thing. I think most people who watched that film had a brief flash of a thought as he went into his pocket as he lay there dying that he might be bringing out an Olive Garden gift card. I certainly did. Like, I didn't think he was actually going to, but I thought when I saw him pulling a card out of his pocket, it wasn't a serious thought, but it was very much a thought that I had.
I'll unmute myself now because the call can't really be heard from where we are now. So hello everybody. This is not going into the final video. The reason we were so late is there's something else way more important going on elsewhere, and that Jahan's currently just fielding that. So we're just going to have a little break, and you know, if we lose,
I think you have to edit these down into finished videos. You know, the live stream stays up.
Not videos. I mean, audio.
Oh, you said
episodes
video. Sorry.
Did I? Oh, beg pardon.
Yes. I thought maybe you were going to edit it into it because you do it with the Patreon. So.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, hold on a moment. I'm going to mute us for a sec.
All good? We were talking about Commander Walters, but I feel like I'll make the point I was about to make. I made for the folks at home.
Oh yeah, hold on, he can't hear you yet.
Yeah.
I forgot that. Yes, I can hear that clacking away in my ear. That's interesting.
Oh, okay.
It must be doing electricity.
Hello again. Sorry about that, everybody. Just had to deal with something.
I'm pretty sure that we're back on stream audio-wise. If not, tell me, but you can't hear me talk.
Does anyone have any idea what I was talking about?
We were talking.
Well, you were just saying that you felt sorry for the actor who played the Olive Garden guy because he didn't get much to do.
Yeah.
And I said while you were away there that that's well and true, but if there was an actor in this that I felt sorry for, it was Kirsten Ritter.
Yes. Well, yeah. Like, I mean, the gun side of this, from a human perspective, is underdeveloped significantly, I would say. I don't know why we needed two separate gun head characters, to be honest.
Well, they want. I think basically it was to make it a challenge to get the key. I mean, that's the second act of the film is the pursuit of the key essentially, and they need to have Gunn mistrust Sonic without doing the dumb shit mistaken identity thing. So they have the old commander hurt, killed, whatever, and the new one mistakenly believes Sonic is responsible as a way to make them not be working. I mean, never mind the chase for the key, but it's simply supposed to so that Sonic doesn't have the combined forces of the entire world's special operations military on his side to resolve the conflict of the film quicker.
That's true, but on the other hand, like, I feel like Commander Walters, that's his name, isn't it?
That's his name.
Olive Garden guy. He wasn't so friendly with them in either of the previous two films that I wouldn't have been able to believe that he could become at least temporarily adversarial against them.
I think he was always presented too much as a figure of silliness.
Yeah,
the kind of silliness you were talking about earlier on. That I feel like I wouldn't have wanted my picture of that character compromised in that way. Whereas Kristen Ritter always gives good bitch.
So you just think Olive Garden guy was too pure and too wholesome, and you wouldn't have liked to see him come down in your estimation like that.
No.
Well, I mean, I think because I saw, I've not actually had much chance to sort of like properly dig into. I know that there's been a couple of like deleted scenes and concept art and stuff revealed of this movie in the last couple of weeks.
I don't think I've watched the deleted scenes.
No, I haven't either. I've heard what the most mentioned ones have been, which is that Robotnik was spending his off time live streaming.
Yes,
and
I'd
I'm
heard that
perfectly glad to hear that was cut.
And I know that there was a
I don't
concept.
know. I'd have enjoyed that. What's wrong with that?
Oh, kids, hey, you like this? Hey, kids, you like this? When I say live streaming, I mean, playing video games and shit. I presume I didn't watch the scenes, but I just literally assumed that's what he was doing.
A good way to illustrate a man whose life's gone wrong. Which presumably was what they were doing, right? In the end, they went with a fat suit. I don't know. I'd prefer the streaming.
I mean, I know there was another version
I
of that
thought
where
the
they also
fat
got...
suit was a bit pointless, right?
Yeah.
Because he's never fat enough to be Dr. Robotnik, so it's like, I don't know why you bothered.
That was,
honestly.
by the way, that was another one with a load of people going like, "Oh, he's having a fat suit in this one," and I always said, didn't I? No, it's going to be like Thor that time. It'll be to show that his life's gone off the rails, and then he'll take it off after a brief exercise sequence. Didn't. I think he kept
No.
it on,
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he
because
did.
Dr. Robotnik is fat, but
Yeah.
like...
but not.
He's not. You can't.
He never
no
looked
person can be properly. You didn't really look fat. That's
The only way I know.
Pull the suit on
The
him,
only way I
really.
know he kept the belly on at all is that I was like peering, and there was one scene where he's walking down a corridor, and you can just about make out a bulge.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, it's impossible for anyone to look fully Eggman.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, the scene that I was going to refer back to from from the kind of the concept art and stuff was it looked like a slightly different version of the Chow Garden scene, where I think it was probably going to be a sillier version of it because Commander Walters is wearing one of the Chow Garden hats and stuff like that.
Oh no.
So I suspect there was maybe a more fun version of that scene, and
Wonder why they would go with a less fun version of any bit.
because I guess
Well, they're doing Shadow's serious backstory
Yeah.
in that moment.
I suppose.
they're kind of speed running, the bit that you need to know about Shadow that's super serious.
I guess, but it never struck me as the film. The film never felt to me like it was trying to be super serious, except later,
Not
where
super.
it went.
I'm saying that's still. I'm saying super
Yeah,
serious
sure.
in the silliest way, in the way that Shadow the Hedgehog is super serious.
Sure, but even still.
it's a serious moment where we don't do jokes.
Yeah,
I guess it didn't come across that way to me, even in the version we got. Except when we flash back to it later with Shadow and we're remembering Maria. That's when to be serious with it.
I did like. There was one joke I saw on the internet about the scene that does add an aspect of humor to it. It was just like a picture of Olive Garden guy saying, "Goes to a restaurant other than Olive Garden for the first time, fucking dies." And I
What stronger advert for Olive Garden can there be in the series? There's already been a fair few.
when he was lying, dying or whatever it is that we're going to call it, and he's like, "Sonic, I gotta give you this." I was really hoping it was going to be an Olive Garden gift card.
That's what we were just saying when you
Yeah,
were away.
right, okay, yeah.
I think a lot of people had the I didn't, as I said before when you were here, I didn't seriously think that's what he was actually going to give him, but when he went into the pocket and
Yeah.
a card came out, I was
Yeah.
like, wait, is it? I had the thought. I think a lot of us
Yeah.
had the thought.
You know what? I'm just trying to think. Did this film have any really egregious product placement?
I didn't notice any.
Can't
That
think
wasn't
of any
already bedded in.
offhand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, no, I was actually, we're calling him Olive Garden Guy. Did they mention
They
Olive
did not
Garden?
mention Olive Garden.
No,
That's
they
any
didn't call him that. No, they know his name now.
No. If anything,
He's their mate now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, the big Zillow moment in it was for the invented Japanese restaurant chain Chow Garden.
Yes, yes. Which I do like a
Yeah.
lot as a way of utilizing
Sure.
the chows.
Although it does, in retrospect, make me wonder if, like, is that the only reason we went to Tokyo and had all of that? Because you were saying a minute ago that there was a lot of padding. Do we need to do all of this and all of this and all this? Did we just need to do that to go to? Did they lose the Olive Garden thing, and so they had to invent a new restaurant?
I think
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where Sonic Adventure. I mean,
Doesn't
I'm going to
concern
say a
me where
thing here
Sonic
now, and it
Adventure 2
doesn't
is.
sound great, but you'll know what I mean. Is that Sonic Adventure 2 is the most Japanesey
Yes.
Sonic game?
Yes, it is,
and
yeah.
it feels like putting that in Tokyo. It just sort of feels right. Even though that's not where it was set. I don't know where it was set. I don't know where any of it was set, but it just sort of feels about right.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I assume
It actually, but I tell you, talking about the Chow Garden does remind me of that. I think that's where Konichi happens.
Yes, it
but
does.
also it's got that bit where the kids come up and ask Tails if he's Detective Pikachu, and then Knuckles goes Pika Pika, and I'm like, and it's really like, hey kids,
Yeah.
is this turning a big dial and looking back at the audience expectantly,
yeah.
like, you know,
No,
it's
especially
like,
especially that they said Detective Pikachu, not
Detective
Pikachu.
Pikachu,
Not
a
Pikachu.
5-year-old film older.
Yeah.
Those children didn't look much older than 5.
No, and they spoke very fluent English.
I think it's fine to set some of a Sonic movie in Japan.
Yes, it's just weird. It was just like I agree, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
just that it was just that bit.
Yeah.
And they just went there.
Yeah.
Good point, actually, just made by David McKay in the chat here, is that he thought the Japan section was going to set up, obviously, the famous ending line of the game,
Yeah.
which is in Sonic X, when Sonic says, "Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog."
Yeah.
Again, great that they didn't do that,
the-
because it would have just been another thing ticked off a box.
In
you
the
know?
original Japanese soundtrack to the game, he says "Toodle Pip."
By the way, speaking of the soundtrack, I would the soundtrack album for this movie is fun because all of the track titles are references in some.
are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like there is a track list. There is a track called "Sayonara Shadow the Hedgehog."
Right.
There's a
Oh,
track
yeah.
called "I Found You, Faker."
Oh, God.
There's a track called "Throw It All Away." You know,
Wow.
like it's. I
What an elegant way to not have to put those in the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's like, look, have your fun. Just let's
Just do it over here.
do it
Right.
over here.
That speaks loudly to something that I felt about this whole thing. In our previous episode, you, Jahan, said that there was a feeling you tuned into that I don't think I did. That for any of the shortcomings of the film, certainly the second one, you felt that all of them were completely alleviated by the fact that you felt this sense that everyone making the film really believed in what they were doing and
Yeah.
liked what they were doing and loved what they were doing. And this time, I started to tune into that.
Yeah.
But in a slightly different way, which is the way where I just started to feel a big fondness for unnamed invisible people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a crew of people making this thing that can only... It doesn't really make corporate sense to make these films the way they are, but it
Yeah.
makes sense if you imagine a room full of people having fun.
Yeah.
And so that's my version of the same thing. And the fact that just the tracks on the soundtrack
Yeah.
are references to Sonic feeds into the thing you were talking about how they have this mysterious fidelity to Sonic Adventure 2, but somehow that's not obnoxious. Yes, that's... I'm glad to have heard about that fact. That's quite lovely.
Yeah, and I'm like, let's just talk. I just want to talk a little bit more on the music point,
Okay.
because it's
Sure.
Live and learn, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. To what extent do we take live and learn as like? I think. Are we all in agreement that it's good that it's there?
I guess.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
It'd be a bit weird if it wasn't.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's a load-bearing structure.
yeah,
I do. I really do. To the whole tone of this.
go on.
Just the specific shitness of it, I think, is
Yeah.
like
It's not even the best song in Sonic Adventure 2.
right. And this is going to be my next question. What extent of tolerance are we all allowing ourselves for the music of the Sonic Adventure games?
Okay.
Is it all bad, or are we each going to try and claim that there are some songs in the Sonic Adventure soundtracks that aren't bad?
Escape from the City.
Is that good? Is that a good
That
song?
fucking
That's a good song.
rips.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
and
now it's stupid.
supposedly it's in the film somewhere.
It's again.
It is listed in the credits.
Yeah.
What?
I have watched
Twice?
and watched and watched the bit where they say it is. You're lying.
It's buried in the same way that the drowning music is buried.
So not in it then. What bit?
Yeah.
The scene where he's racing through London.
Really?
Yeah, there are little tiny licks of similar phrase structure.
Now, what I will say that I did hear in that, I think it must have been that scene. There was a couple of places, but I think it was a moment where I was like, okay, the incidental music there was awkward in the way that means it's a reference to something, but I didn't get the reference.
The credits to the film, because I read the track listing in the credits. There are definitely more real Sonic songs listed in the credits, but they're all songs I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Theme
that's
of
it.
Eggman. I don't know what that is. I don't know to recognize it or not notice it if I'm supposed to notice. I don't know.
I recognized Eggman's Sonic Adventure 2 theme. EGGMAN.
Oh, that one.
Yes, it was. It was.
Do it for me
I
now.
am the
It was
Eggman.
Doctor. Yes,
That's
it's Doctor
what I am.
Robotnik's ringtone.
Oh, okay.
You hear it. You hear it for like
I
less
wouldn't
than
even
half a
notice
second.
that. Like,
The-
you know,
The ringtone joke
Yeah.
must end.
Did that again?
it's fine.
Oh my god! Like it is fine, but
Yeah.
it's been fine it was
Name 5.
okay. The Bay Turtles, every previous Sonic film, Super Mario Brothers,
I don't. What's? Oh no, yeah. Tom's thing did do that. Yeah.
and the first time I heard it was, and the only time I found it funny was. What's it even called? The Final Fantasy VII sequel movie. Do I
Advent
mean
Children.
Advent Children? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the one time I've ever found it funny or entertaining because they have a fight and then the ringtone is the fight winning
I
tune.
see, yeah.
Now I wouldn't even find that funny now
Yeah.
because it's been done so many times.
Yeah.
But back 20 years ago,
Yeah.
it was quite funny.
That movie's not that old.
No, probably not.
What I liked about
The-
what I liked about it in this context is it is.
It might be. I watched it in 2005.
I think it's about 20 years old. Yeah.
Sorry.
Ugh, I don't care for that.
I mean, you don't care for Final Fantasy Advent Children either.
Neither do I.
No, that's.
But yeah, like it's literally. What's the oral equivalent of blink and you miss it?
Drift off and you miss it.
Yeah, like-
stop paying attention. You miss it.
Genuinely, they play it for like less than half a second. He picks up the phone immediately.
I remember the moment.
Yeah,
Clearly, I
yeah.
remember hearing a ringtone.
Yeah.
I don't remember recognizing it. It was just
But
fun.
I'm fine. It's a if you know, you know kind of thing. They
yeah,
don't
that's
belabor
absolutely
it,
fine,
you know?
isn't it?
Yeah.
How are we on the Sonic? Chris, what are your opinions of the Sonic Adventure songs overall? And
I
then I'll
literally
leave
couldn't name you a single other one except
Really?
for Escape from the City and thing. Yeah, my basic knowledge of any and all Sonic music after the Mega Drive games, there's that one from Sonic Adventure that they play at the end that I don't remember the name of.
At the
Open
end.
Your Heart.
Open Your
that
Heart.
One.
I think Open Your Heart is better than Live and Learn.
I would probably agree.
I think it's about on par.
I know Live and Learn, I know City Escape, Rooftop Run was good, the Sonic Colors theme, the Endless Possibility, which I think was the theme of Unleashed. That's about it.
Okay.
I don't think I'd recognize
My-
Axe music if you played it to me. Beyond that, I don't have it. It's not there. None of them are as good as the Mega Drive songs.
My stance on it is, sorry, did you need to?
No.
interject?
Oh, no, wait, actually, yeah. Are you trying to tell me you don't know Unknown from ME?
I do, obviously. Yes, I don't know why I didn't think of that one. I try not to think of it. It's shit too.
My stance
And
on
obviously,
these,
yeah, there's the Sonic Adventure tracks we've talked about on the podcast before.
the club style of guitar solos.
The Rush games.
Yeah.
Again, I couldn't name you a lot of them, but what catchy ones are in there, I know. You know,
I can do that one quite well, but then
Yeah.
I did listen to it just last night.
Wait, hang on, Up and Down and All Around.
No, that's Sonic Adventure.
That's Sonic Adventure, isn't it? Yeah. What's the one I'm thinking of from Rush?
Sonic Rush.
I don't know.
There's all sorts. Right here, right now.
Today's a day. Today's
Right
a
here,
new
right
day.
on. Yeah, that one. I love that one.
Wrapped in black, wrapped in black, wrapped in black.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, well,
Is that from
No,
Rush?
and
he
of
did
course
a perfect
Shadow.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, Shadow's theme.
Okay.
I am all of me. And
I'm not going to wait for it. I'm just going to say. So
Theme of Sonic
I
Heroes
don't
2.
care about any of the music in Sonic Adventure 2 except for
Yes.
the two aforementioned
It's a
songs.
good one.
What was the other one? Other than
City Escape.
Oh, City Escape. Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 1,
Yeah.
I know and like all the vocal songs in that.
Okay.
And I don't know
Yeah.
to what extent that's just because that was the primordial, the game isn't out
Primordial
yet.
ooze.
Yeah, like the game wasn't out yet. It was upcoming. I had all
Yeah.
the MP3s. It was exciting. What's this going to be? So I learned all of those and I like all of those.
Yeah.
But I do think Amy's song, for instance, is lyrical drivel, but musically it's very
Gibberish.
pleasant indeed.
One of the worst of all
Yes,
time.
but yes, probably
Yeah.
some of the worst lyrics ever written.
Yeah.
But the music
I'm only ever
is
going
great.
to be able to hear it with techno.
I know, I'm so
in
sorry.
my head.
I've
No,
spoiled
don't
it now.
apologize for that. That's great.
I think musically that's
You know,
good.
I'm just looking at the comments there, and I feel like every song I just named, I said the wrong game name. So you can freely ignore a lot of what I said there. I know the songs
you were
I meant.
talking about
I
the
failed
overall
to
body of
communicate where
music.
they come from accurately.
Yeah.
I think, and pretty much anyway.
Um,
Did the words "Sonic Rush" leave my lips at any point?
Yes,
because
yes.
that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, it
some
did.
of them. Did it? Okay, I wasn't sure if it did.
unknown for me. I like that. I don't think that's rubbish.
Really?
Good
I
Lord,
don't.
what's
I
wrong
don't
with
think
you? Well,
it's
I know why it's
good.
wrong, yeah, but
Yeah.
But I do think that like towards the end when the music's ramped up a bit, I just
Yeah.
think it's an okay composition.
Yeah.
Bear in mind. Yeah, I don't like that bit. That bit's. Yes, but there's what is it? There's a tune in Sonic 3 and Knuckles that I think starts badly and then ends up brilliantly. I think it may be Hydra City 2. I think it might be. I'm like, I don't at the start. I'm like, boo, 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 I don't like this, and then by the end I do.
Yeah.
I'm like that with Unknown from ME. When the fill comes in, and all the guys go, oh, and it's like, bah,
not really.
I think that's
Not
good.
even really.
Anyway,
Yeah, I get it.
so I quite like. I don't really like Tails' song, and they're
It's-
okay.
it's wet.
And then Sonic Adventure 2, two good songs. Rest of them bad.
I like
bad.
I like Rouge's theme. That's quite
You know
good.
what? I can't remember Rouge's theme.
It's called "Flying the Freedom." It's the one. It's the song from the soundtrack that to me sounds like it could exist outside of
It's got
the
that.
realm of.
Am I
of
right
Sonic
in saying
Adventure
it's
games.
got that kind of Space Channel 5 faux 60s sort of
Yes.
sound to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds okay,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no part of it that'll make you want to vomit. I don't think.
Sure.
And that's I know that sounds like a low bar to clear. We're talking about Sonic Adventure
2.
music.
Yes.
Um,
And I will never not loathe Sonic's song in it because it's an example of that thing where you take the lyrics and change the tune
and for the worse.
now you've made something awful that shouldn't
Yes.
exist. Yes.
One thing, one thing that spinning off the music actually that I do appreciate, and I feel like is a reference. Knuckles is afraid of ghosts.
Yeah, listen, we haven't talked about Knuckles or Tails or Tom or Maddie at all.
Hold on.
But
We'll
Knuckles
do
being
that.
afraid of ghosts.
We'll
yes.
do that, but we have to finish the point. Why have you asked us what we think of the Sonic Adventure music?
I'm just wondering, to what extent do we think it will ever be necessary for them to include a song ever again?
Songs should be for the intro, like in Sonic CD, or or the ending, or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it's really weird. Like when the songs came up on Sonic Adventure before the game came out, and we were like, "Oh, how are they going to use these? What's the point of this going to
Yeah.
be? Is there going to be a special intro screen for each character?" No, they just played it quietly under the dialogue, and it was bad.
But I mean, in the movies,
In the
like
movies.
No,
future
I'm with
movies.
you. You know
yeah.
what?
I see.
I don't know if there is.
Is
I
there
mean,
another
maybe
song they
if,
have to
if the
repeat?
next
Yeah.
film is going full Sonic CD, which it seems to be where it's taking most of what it's doing from, we'll talk about it in a bit. Although I will point out we are approaching the 2-hour mark, so we want to start.
Oh, that comes as a pleasant surprise. I thought you were going to
yeah.
say 4.
No, but maybe then you do,
Maybe.
Sonic Boom or Toot Sonic Warrior or whatever. But I
It'll be Sonic
genuinely
Boom.
can't.
The Japanese songs are a bit mental, aren't they?
That's a bit niche as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, whichever. They could do both.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But it does feel like the only other one that's tied up in the whole identity of a game in the way Live and Learn is. Because the rest of them have theme songs. Colors is a theme song. Unleashed
Yeah.
is a theme song. But
Sonic fans insist there's something important called His World.
That's the theme
Nope,
from Sonic
not a
06.
Well, Sonic fans are interesting people. And one called Fist
Couldn't
Bump, I
comment.
believe.
I know what
that's
that
from
one
Sonic
sounds.
Forces, but it
Interesting
I
people.
don't. Those are Fist Bump's all right. Actually, I don't mind Fist
Yeah, I'm
Bump.
sure. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, but we'll be cold and dead in the ground before we get to the point
Well,
where they
that's
make
it.
the Sonic Forces movie.
the idea that any
And
of
if
these
we're
films
not by
will
that
get to a
point,
point
we'll
where
arrange it
any
at
of-
that point.
the idea that they would ever get to a point where any of these songs that even remotely feel as important
Yeah.
to their games as Live and Learn
There isn't
does,
one.
they're just
Well,
I
there
don't
is
see
one,
them
and it's
getting
City
there,
Escape.
you know? Yes, that's the other most important one. And
I don't know why they
apparently
didn't do City
use it.
Escape.
I mean, I get there is the theme to Shadow song, and the theme to Shadow, and I guess I could. That is so bad that I can't believe that they would use it because it's so bad.
Well, but I can imagine it like, what is his name, Julian Barrett version in the
Well
Shadow
done.
series, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hope anytime they do a spin-off, Julian Barrett shows back up.
Should be in
Sure.
it, yeah. Julian Barrett as the devil from the Bible.
Yes.
But no, I mean, I do think you're right. Live and Learn is I think the only song that exists at that intersection of crucially important to adapting the game that it's from, but also borderline acceptable to the ears of a normal person.
And you know what?
Yes.
City Escape is the better song, but actually, there wouldn't have been a place for it anywhere in the films,
They
would
didn't
there?
escape a city at any point.
Never escaped any cities. And if they had, it wouldn't be an appropriate moment for a song.
No.
It should have put it in the end credits, though.
Yeah.
That should have been the end credits.
What about Pumpkin Hill? They could have done. Knuckles is afraid of ghosts.
He is afraid of ghosts.
Could have put that in.
I'm
there.
sure
What
they
point
did.
Do you think how far are these films in do you think they have to get before they wheel out King Boom Boo? Like, you know,
What? Sorry, what?
Do you remember
that's the name of the
Boo.
ghost.
Do you remember the Boo from Mario that was in Sonic Adventure 2?
I actually don't.
Oh. Well, there was one, and he was
Okay.
called King Bumbo. And did he go
That's kind of what I thought they
Bumbo?
were making the ghost reference for with Knuckles. Because it's a Knuckles level where he appears in.
Right.
No, I don't think he says king. I think he just goes, yeah!
No. Bumbo! Yeah, yeah.
You're not really selling me on the cinematic potential of
No.
this character based on what
I
you
wasn't
said.
trying to.
Well, no.
The opposite, if anything. But yeah, no. Let's move on to
Right.
the other
Tick
characters.
the last couple of boxes we need to here, yeah.
Because yeah, like
Because there's not a wild pile to say about them. They're there. They feel their personalities are on display.
Yeah.
They have their little. They don't feel like they're bolted on. They don't feel like they're wasted, but they're very much
Also
tertiary characters in the film.
I don't know. Like I
Are
think,
you talking about the humans now? Because you also
I was
said
talking about
Tails and
Sonic. I was
Knuckles.
talking about Knuckles and Tails.
Knuckles and Tails, yeah.
I
Maybe
think they
call-
use
it's
them
called
well.
Knuckles and Tails secondary, Maddie and Tom tertiary.
Yes.
Which is surprising in and of itself that the humans get bumped down to the
Yes.
tertiary role.
I think this is them recognizing where the focus of this probably should be at this stage. Like, I think that's fine. I know they talk all the time about the idea of like, oh, will we ever get to a point where this conversation came up in an interview recently with like Colleen O'Shaughnessy, where they're like,
I
oh,
saw that, yeah.
will they ever get to a point where we just move past the human characters entirely? And I'm like, no, from a filmmaking point of view or in a contractual point of view, but also no from a creatively. I think this film in particular shows it's so much better and so much better like movie making and storytelling to find ways to weave what you've established with all of these human characters that you've spent a lot of screen time on into the stories that you're telling in future rather than just discarding them.
I agree.
But
and
the thing with it was they found the place for them in
Yes.
this story rather than the second one, which had to
Yeah.
very artificially
Yeah.
carve a place out for them in it.
Yeah.
And it does help. And I think they were probably able to keep them in such a small role, although a small role that was nonetheless key to the emotional arc of the
Yeah.
film, because it's a film based on a game that's got humans in key roles in it, so there are live people playing important
Yeah.
parts elsewhere in the film, and also you have two Jim Carreys, which is it's one actor. It fills your required amount of human screen time.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, but the thing is, at this point, the world of these versions of the Sonic characters are so built around the human beings that they've been interacting with that, like, I don't think you can merely treat it as, like, well, like, the humans no longer just feel like the obligation that you described a little bit when we were discussing the first film of, like, well, it needs to be a live-action movie, so therefore we need to have some human characters in order to fill X amount of screen time. And that, oh, well, if we can just have Jim Carrey fill that amount of screen time, then that's fine, jobs are good, and we don't need to worry about the other human characters. Like, they could have taken that approach, but they've built everything on the human characters that they already have. Like, I think it's really, really crucial in understanding where this version of Sonic is at and is built from. The big moment when he's fighting with Shadow, and Shadow is, like, taunting him, and, you know, it's like, you know, the fact, you know, like, taunting about, like, where's your family now, you know, like, the ones you claim you care so much about, including that one, the, you know, what's his name again? Tom? It's
Rachel!
Yeah, exactly. It's at that point that Sonic becomes so angry that he punches Shadow to the moon and almost murders him. It's not Tails.
Can I just say, raging out of control Supersonic? It's not all the ways there, but it's enough for me.
But, you know, crucially, that's not Tails he's saying in that moment. It's not Knuckles. It's James Marsden.
James Marsden.
Yeah. It's his dad.
Yeah, it's his dad, James Marsden. That
and
is...
you wouldn't, and if it was Tails, you simply wouldn't feel it.
No, you wouldn't.
In the way that you would with Tom.
Yeah, and that's why you can't... I don't think you can get rid of those characters now without really cheapening any investment that we put into this character so far.
The only way to do it would be if, like, in Sonic 4, he's now old enough that he's moved out and is doing other stuff. But that's what they did this time. Like, essentially, the story this time was that his mum and dad were experiencing a bit of empty nest syndrome. And then they got
and yet
to join
he was gone for an afternoon.
Yeah, but still, that was kind of what they were doing, though. And when they brought them in, it was because what Sonic needed for a plan to work is humans,
people
who can blend in with humans.
And it doesn't feel artificial because it's telling a story based on one where a human entity is important to the story, and it doesn't feel like you don't, as a Sonic fan, you don't look at it and see something that's been artificially carved out of the side of the film to put this stuff in there. No, it's part of the world and it's supposed to be there, and it fits. Now, Jez MM has just said in the chat there, and this is a good point, I do feel they reached a threshold here. It's hard to imagine what little job they'll find for Tom and Maddie to do in the next film that isn't just, we need to get into a place where only humans are allowed to go in.
They've kind of
it works in this one because of what I've just said, but where do you go next? I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they could have...
Because you're not going to have two Jim Carreys next time. You might not even have
you
one
might not have any Jim
Carrey
Carreys.
time.
No. The thing that struck me is that the way that Tom and Maddie were used is that they used the little hologram things to become other humans, which means that Tails and Knuckles could have done that. But nevertheless, it feels right that they got some humans to do it.
But it's very funny that was the only that was how they got to bring back the actors for the sister and the husband. Without actually having to artificially find a place to put the characters.
Which is a trick that works once. What are they going to do next time? Because presumably those two actors must have because we were in this film, we get to be in all sequels clause in their contract. Otherwise, they would not have appeared in that scene. It would have been Tom and Maddie.
They got posters.
Similarly, also Wade and his 40 seconds of screen time.
Yes, appreciated,
I feel
though,
like
especially
he's not
after
bothered. He had a whole TV show.
True.
But I mean, that was the funny thing, because I saw this with Jeff, and whenever we have the explanatory bit where they say we've hidden the Master Emerald somewhere, only Knuckles knows, and leading over to Jeff, and I was kind of expecting it to cut away and show it shoved under Wade's bed. And then, of course, whatever.
That is basically
20
what
minutes, half an hour later, when we get to the reveal and he's playing hockey with it on the roof, and I was like, okay, there we go.
And I liked that. I thought that was
Yeah.
a neat little scene. Like, I will come back on Tails and Knuckles a little bit, because I think they're used the right amount in the sense that
Yes.
they're not pivotal to the story, but they're very present. You get a lot of their personality across, and they do get character moments.
Yeah, it's Sonic and his two friends, and his two friends do moves that... Did you notice, for instance, the bit where Sonic is hurtling towards the closing shield that's going to disintegrate him, and Tails swoops in, grabs him, spins him round and throws him in.
Yeah.
And then Sonic, having learned that move, does it to Super Shadow later in
Yeah,
the fight
yeah,
in
yeah.
Oh, I
space.
didn't
I
know
thought it
that.
was
I
really
didn't
nice.
pick up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't the first time, and I nearly didn't the second time until Abby was sitting there going like, "Ha ha! Oh, cool!" at different bits, and I was like, "Do you know what? I'm not watching this properly." And I went back and watched carefully what happens, because I didn't notice. For instance, did you guys notice this? The amazing moment where there's a in the early on in the fight between the supers.
Yeah.
There's like a line of lava that goes out across the ground.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, I guess they went that way. No, what it is that they're pushed up against a mountain.
Yeah.
And Supersonic just pushes off against it so hard that it separates from the Earth's crust, and a whole line of lava comes up because he pushed a mountain away.
I
It's
need to
great.
watch that closer again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dead cool.
That's what we want to see from Supersonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may have been Super Knuckles.
Shadow.
They're
Yeah.
quite
Well,
similar
either one,
looking, but I think it was
yeah.
Super Sonic.
That's not the bit you were looking at. You were looking at the mountain.
But like with Knuckles, I thought that the standout bit with him was the little argument he has.
Yes.
With Sonic.
Yeah, that was great.
I really like that. It's a nice little bit of drama. It demonstrates character growth
Yeah.
on Knuckles' part.
And I like, that they didn't push it to the point that they actually did have a short fight.
yeah.
Even because, again, to have Knuckles breathe and back down, it was good. I liked it, yeah.
And with Tails, like, and that this brings us on to another character who we simply must mention, otherwise I know Abby will kind of charge through this wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Like, I really liked,
As usual.
I really liked the scene with Tails and
Wait,
Agent
I
Stone.
want to draw that back a bit, because Abby does in fact walk into door frames quite often. Sorry, Abby. Right, sorry. Agent Stone.
Yeah. I
Yes.
love the scene with Tails and Agent Stone.
Oh, that was great. Let's get this out of the way. You're adorable. What a great line. Here she comes.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, yeah!
Are we talking about the Tails being adorable?
We are talking
Yeah.
about Tails being adorable.
Yeah, it's very good.
I mean, just on a basic level, I love this idea that, like, you've got these kind of second tier people within the respective factions where they're put together for the first time. It's like, I don't actually have any problem with you.
Yeah, they got along quite well. It's
Yeah.
something, and I was saying this, wasn't I, when we were watching it? Something I really liked about Agent Stone and the way they handled him this time is that more than ever, I think this was always clear, but more than ever this time,
Yeah.
it's really clear he's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
He's not a villain.
Yeah.
He just loves Dr. Robotnik.
Yeah.
And there's no explanation for that. It's just a silly thing about him. So if you put him with Tails, they can be mates.
Yeah.
He can be mates with anyone. He's a Shadow. He gets along with him. It's fine.
I'm just
Didn't like Knuckles.
He didn't like Knuckles.
I'm just trying
He
to
liked Shadow.
Knuckles didn't like him.
I'm just trying to think from previous movies. Was there any indication whatsoever that Agent Stone is like into Dr. Robotnik's evil schemes, like beyond I'm helping Dr. Robotnik level?
Don't remember.
I don't remember any
Abby.
cackling
He's
or
up
anything.
for ruling the world with him.
But is that not just because that's what Dr. Robotnik wants, and therefore he
Yeah.
wants what Dr. Robotnik wants?
Yes.
You thought he took over the coffee shop in a maybe evil way,
And that
perhaps.
might be something that was
But that
in
happens
the
off screen.
spin-off comic.
Ah.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
don't know how
Oh,
true
yeah,
that
I
is.
did read that comic, but I've forgotten.
But I quite like that comic. It's good.
Because, yeah, like, I just wonder to what extent that if Dr. Robotnik just suddenly decided, yeah, we're going legit,
Yeah.
would Agent Stone be like, what are you talking about? Like, I
Right,
thought we
would
take
he
over
then-
the world,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Or
Well,
would
we'll
he just
have
be
to
like,
find-
nope,
We'll have to find out whenever Jim Carrey doesn't return to the series, won't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, Agent Stone is a perfect example of everything we were talking about of they took something that could have just been a throwaway bit of nothing from the first movie that, like, literally that character only really exists because Jim Carrey decided, like, I'm going to be on my own in a lot of these scenes unless we bump this character up a little bit and give me someone consistent to talk to. And I play well off this guy, so let's turn him into
Yeah.
more of a character. But
Because that we've found out since that is what happened, isn't it? He
Yeah,
was going to be
yeah,
a very small bit part, and Jim went, These are monologues.
really.
Give me a man to.
Give me a man to shout
Bump off,
at.
yeah.
I mean, I feel
Not
like
bump
his
off.
increased role in the
Bounce
second one, at the very least. I don't know this for sure or anything, but it sort of feels like it was a response to the way he was received by fans.
Yeah.
Like a lot of other stuff we were talking about Kerry and makeup playing Gerald and Keanu and that. It's like coffee isn't his thing in the first one. He makes Robotnik a coffee like once.
Yeah.
And then we get a shouty line that they decided to put in the trailer.
Yes.
And then, but that became the thing fans associated with the character. Then suddenly, 2 years later, you've got a sequel where he runs a coffee shop, and that's just the running joke about the character is that he milks goats. And
That's a good example of what we're talking about how they can take the most random thing
Yeah.
and make it look like they meant it all along. Because it turns out that's where we're going to do Mean Bean reference.
I know, yeah.
Like, what a fascinating setup they happen to keep
or have
bumping
that be
into.
Robotnik's big emotional sign-off to Stone
Yeah.
in this film.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that...
I mean, that's the thing, is that Stone feels like he's going to wind up in a game eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how. He'll be a little... Well, they put that little Sonic R style polygon model of him in the credits in this one, and I'm like, yeah, just put the big Robotnik grin and the excuse me, and the goggles on him, and
He's a video game
yeah,
character,
I feel like that's a character that could make the transmedia jump
And that...
in a way that James Marsden never will.
Yeah, he could very much end up being the Harley Quinn of this movie series, basically. But I think it's deserved. I mean, like you said, the fact that it's just this functional, well-performed but functional character in the first movie, and all of a sudden it's like they found this way to tie it back into the found family theme of the entire storyline.
And it does seem, maybe this is because I'm too deep in the weeds or something, but it does seem like a big part of why he was in it was not because of people responding to the character and the performance, but to his interaction with fans. He went down very well.
He has gone that way, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's very much put himself out there.
And everyone loves him, and he really, like, he was so popular as an actor to interact with.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big part of why he got to be in the sequel and is still in it now, and it great.
Yeah.
Because Sonic, this is something I talked about in the last episode. Sonic, the movie franchise, feels so weirdly open that we can entertain these ideas. Like, the fans said Keanu, so it's Keanu. Like, filmed by committee, but we're on the committee.
And I do wonder how much of... And you can't... It'll never be as simple as just this one thing. But I wonder how much of it is Tyson Hesse.
I know.
That's a fair question.
And he is high up.
He's a co-producer on the film. Yeah,
I know.
I was shocked when I saw that.
Just because of my proximity, there's nothing I can say, but I know a couple of things that I don't think are, like, public. I do know about things in the film that are only in it because he went to bat for it. Like, we're having this, whereas people higher up were going, no, we're not having that.
Sega people.
Well, I heard specifically, I can't remember what YouTube channel it was,
Right.
But they were saying that the musical treatment this time was partly his doing.
Really?
That him
Getting
he's-
Live and Learn in, you mean?
Well, yeah, he spoke to the director and the composer about, like, we need to really kind of push the music more this time because, you know...
Well,
like,
he's right.
he is
Just
right.
a shame it took this long.
Yeah, and again,
Yeah.
shame it took long enough that we missed all the bits with the good music. But, yeah, still, he is right that music was a key thing that was really missing from the first two movies.
He is. I know that he is instrumental. I don't know if I doubt he's the only person on the team. I'm sure probably loads of them are on it now. But he's the bridge from what they were making before they brought him in to redesign the character, and what we've got now, which is
That
Sonic
is true.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that much.
yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think it's very clear he's found a lot of allies now within the production team. Like,
Yes, or brought them in. I don't
Well,
know
it's
how.
working so well for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the thing. Or all of the times he has said, no, we should do this instead of the Hollywoody thing you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Has
The Rotten
always...
Tomatoes score has gone up.
Yeah, it's always paid off. I suppose I shouldn't... in a way, I've thrown the director there under the bus, and that might not be accurate at all. He seems like a good egg.
Yeah.
But That
I just fundamentally don't trust a man who worked on the Shadow the Hedgehog video game.
But I mean that's
what is the director of the films? A guy who worked on the Shadow.
he animated some of the cutscenes on the
cinematics.
Shadow game. Yeah,
Weird. Okay.
full circle.
Why is he allowed to make a film?
I know, right? No, I'm joking. He seems like, and it's because of that.
He was
that
just following orders, Dave.
But it is because of that you can tell the guy has a particular affection for that era of
Sure.
what
Yeah.
Sonic is, and
That
and
explains a
whether
lot
a lot
about
of
that.
it is a consequence of what you're saying. Tyson coming in there and saying, "No, you really do need to do this at this stage in the series." It's not happening because it's that era. It just so
Yeah.
happens that they're finally getting to enforce that desire now at this point
So
in
it-
time,
so
rather
it
than
sounds like-
because we've reached this point in time.
So it
But-
sounds like, and watching the films, it looks like the director is of a mind then with Tyson.
I think
so. I'm trying to work out, why does he, a random cartoonist, because we talk about him as if he's
I don't
from
know.
Sonic.
Yeah,
Why does he
I
get?
don't understand.
And honestly, what I think it must be is that he is the thing that changed the original Sonic movie from the laughing stock of the world
Yeah.
to a really successful film
Yeah.
and now franchise. So he must just keep going, remember that thing I did?
I don't understand how you go from a guy who draws Sonic comics sometimes to a producer on the highest rated video game film ever.
That's how, yeah.
What is a producer, I guess, is that's
Yeah.
the question that none of us in all our lives have ever known. Up there with a grip and a Best Boy.
Yeah.
What does a producer do? We don't know.
And I think there are different versions. I think
Normal
there's
people don't know the answer to that.
I think there's a producer who is a man with a load of money who goes like, yeah, I'll finance a film as long as it gives me a return. And then there's the kind of producer who's like the star of the film who gets a producer credit. And then there's the kind of producer that's Tyson Hess, who's like sitting there being
Overseer and like
the Howard Ashman role.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was listed as producer on the films he did that on, but it's that sort of thing. It's a way of acknowledging, yeah, we allowed this guy in the room and basically did a lot of what he said, and it turned out really well for us.
Yeah, so-
Producer.
Stephen A in the chat there says Hess has talked about it, and he says he just kind of found himself in the right place at the right time.
He's a guy who is, what I know about him over his career is the reason the progression from just a guy to producer of the Sonic movies,
Just a bloke.
yeah, is that he. Can you believe it took me until the latest episode to find a jingle for Just Blokes, and it's we're just normal men. How had I not thought of putting that in before?
That
Yeah.
didn't exist whenever we started.
I
out.
guess not. He was a cartoonist. He was a web comic guy.
Yeah.
He did was it 4-page? Was it 2-page silly Sonic
yeah.
comic that was like the best Sonic comic anyone had done, but it was all jokes from end to end. And then miss a few. Someone at Archie goes like, that guy could draw Sonic well. Let's get him to do that.
Yeah.
And then he gets so good at drawing Sonic, I guess during that he must have just submitted a good drawing to the movie people. And someone on the team, maybe the director, must have gone like, yeah, we all know he's the best Sonic
You
artist.
missed
Oh,
a
Mania.
piece. Mania, yeah.
Mania.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
next.
Mania,
That's the
yeah.
missing stepping stone. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. So it's each step is a reasonable, and this will be true of everyone with every career we've ever wondered how it happened. Each
Well,
stepping
yes.
stone was reasonable. It's
Yeah.
just that in a rare circumstance, we got to see them all happening in front of our eyes.
I wonder with the movie redesign. I can't remember if this actually happened live in real time on social media, but I feel as though I have a sense memory of it where when the shitstorm happened
Yes.
after the first trailer, Tyson Hess just spoke up and was like, "I can fix this." Like, he may have actually just tweeted that, as far as I remember.
Maybe, but the earliest I remember.
Call me, basically. I know what to do. Don't worry.
That
you
could
know?
be it, yeah. The earliest I remember that I noticed was the "Don't worry, guys, they called me" tweet, which was a picture that he just painted a picture of, basically movie Sonic's arm and glove,
Yeah.
holding a sign, and I can't remember what the sign said on it, but,
Yeah.
the gist of it was like maybe the release date.
Yeah,
or something
I
like
remember that. Yeah.
And we all went, "Oh God, have they hired him? This'll be fine."
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're thinking of. He tweeted his treatment of like, here's how I would have done it within
yeah.
their design language.
Yeah.
And what that painting was exactly the final design that they used.
Yeah.
And then a little while after that, we get the sign and the arm that confirmed they'd gone with it.
Yeah.
So right from the off, that was the first moment of them opening the doors up to the room. Essentially,
Yeah.
is there a doctor in the house?
The thing is, that was a really dangerous moment for them.
Yeah.
Because they've opened the doors to the Sonic fandom and asked them.
Yeah.
They were
please-
lucky that who they found.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Good
turns out
God.
Tyson is very professional.
Imagine if.
And as much as the subsequent films have done things that felt tuned into people's desires about those films, I can't point to a single thing that they've done where they've made the wrong
Yeah.
choice based on
No.
on listening to fans.
No, they just-
And I think this film, more than anything, is a great example of that, because again, to go right back to what we said at the very start, of all the stuff they didn't put in,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
that fans would have insisted be part of it.
Yeah. Everyone was saying you have to do the illness that she has. Because that's how the alien DNA makes sense, and that's how it's like. Yeah, it doesn't.
That doesn't
don't do
even.
it.
You don't
Yeah.
have like it's a chain of dominoes.
Yeah,
Take out the illness
Mm-hmm.
means you take out the genetic engineering, or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's not like one is predicated on the other. It's like the idea of him genetic engineering her is secured. This is what I'm talking about. Hats on hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's already making Shadow for the government, so it doesn't need her being ill at all, and like she has no. That's never factored into who or what she is in her story role. It's never been in evidence that there's been anything wrong with her in any of the appearances she's had. And again, I was talking about Shadow Generations briefly earlier on, but again, I think Ian Flynn has done a lot of work with the ancillary media and in that game itself. I still haven't played it yet. Have it. Playing Horizon Forbidden West at the minute. I've got to get through that before I get on to Shadow Generations. But he's done a lot. He's done something with that in this to make just to deliver a little statement on the nature of visible disabilities. But it's making clay from something that was nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the alien DNA and the very fact that it has to happen on a space station at all. Whenever we just have when we just have a weapon launched at the end of the film. You know?
Yeah.
They prune out all the chaff, and if they were beholden to fans,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have. And it just showed that whether it's a case of Hess being in the right place at the right time to become the go-between to tell them, no guys, seriously, don't as a bloke with his head screwed on right, who knows how to create media, versus they're not just seeing what people are saying on Twitter and doing it or not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think clearly
Dave's away again.
there is a process of good decision making happening within
Yes.
the team, and it doesn't just come with hiring and listening to Tyson Hess. It's also it also comes in the choice of who they're not hiring and listening to.
Yes, this is it.
And what ideas from the fan base they are not canvassing or
and Sonic
kowtowing to.
fandom is no different to your average fandom in any other regard. It just has a reputation for some reason.
Is it not worse? Is it not the worst?
I don't know if it honestly is or not, to be honest, you know. I don't think
For all the grenades you chuck at them.
for all the grenades, yeah. I mean, but it's I think the aspects that people make fun of may be louder. I don't know if they're more numerous. It's maybe as a fandom more fractured than your average fandom as a consequence of how the franchise has been handled in its 30 years of life.
Yeah.
But even my counterpart, you understand it as well, being Transformers, a franchise that reinvents itself every couple of years, I wouldn't say Transformers is anywhere as fractured as Sonic. But that's because Transformers sort of comes with that innate understanding that it's 40 years old and there are all these different versions of it, and they're all valid, and some people like these ones and some people don't like these ones. Whereas and with Transformers, there's no one true canon. Whereas there's the people. Well, I was going to say people pretend, but no. I mean, there is, and it's the games, and that is the true core Sonic canon. So you have generations who were raised on these different versions that owe very little to the canon, and that creates a fracturing in a way that other fandoms don't have to endure.
But I think another influential factor there is that like a lot of those generations of Sonic fans have been raised by versions of Sonic media that, like, by most objective metrics is garbage.
Yeah, I mean,
And so
yeah.
therefore, like, there's a certain, I think that
And
creates...
a lot of the core canon stuff
Yeah.
was garbage for a very long time as well.
Yeah, that's it. And so, like, I think that creates a certain spiritual sickness, within the fan base.
The rot at the heart of Sonic.
Yeah, because if the heart of your fandom is like Sonic 06, how can you be a
How do you
healthy
build
person?
on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then there's all the perverts.
Well, those exist everywhere too. You just need the right thing. They're always hiding somewhere. You just need a Marvel rivals to bring them out.
That's true. But the perverts have always been there with Sonic, haven't they? You spoke of what's the name of the fella, the guy who wrote into STC to ask about Sonic's feet?
What is his
Kevin
name?
Rooks
Kevin
from
Rooks.
Basingstoke.
Yeah, exactly him. That was a precursor to a lot of worse stuff that happened after that. But I think that just shows that the Sonic franchise is just a bit of a hive of scum and villainy, and it attracts freaks and perverts like yourselves.
It's got a little bit of the Thomas the Tank Engine thing going on as well, where it's viewed by parents as, or it was in generations past. Sake, you can't really speak to the now whenever it's a big film series that's sort of a bit more in the limelight than it was in the early 2000s when this sort of thing I think really took off. But it was viewed as a very safe franchise for parents that Christy parents thought it would be okay for their kids to watch versus any of the bigger, more heavily action things.
Yeah.
And like a lot of nerd
More of the
media,
more
obviously,
overtly satanic media.
yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
Sonic
Mario.
was viewed as very safe. So then when you get a generation of repressed kids in that way, discovering the wider world through their interactions with other people through this fandom, it comes out, all the things that they haven't been able to experience up till now come
Sonic,
out in that sort of an unexpected way.
When you have...
and there is also the element of the fact that again I don't think this is true of Sonic any more than your average fandom. I just happened to watch a YouTube video about it earlier this week, but obviously there is a very large neurodivergent component to Sonic fandom as well, but I feel that's true of a lot of...
more for Sonic than for other things.
Maybe, but I don't know,
Because I've seen YouTube videos about it as well, saying like, why is it? And so I assume therefore.
But is it though? Like, is that just like I don't know? Is the dog wagging its own tail? Is the snake
Possibly.
eating itself? Is it people have always said that about Sonic, so people just think that's the... I know
Maybe.
an awful lot of autistic people in many fandoms,
Yeah.
and then that factors into it as well. Having your social interactions with this and these emotions and feelings with the churchy stuff that you haven't been able to find an outlet for, or maybe just experiencing for the first time.
Well, and the other thing about
they
the
come out
churchy
in these
stuff
odd ways.
is that a lot of those kids are going to be very because we know for a fact that there is a large there's a lot of kids who are in very religious families, but Sonic is the one normal thing that's allowed.
Yeah.
But what that means
that's
is
what I'm
that it's almost their only experience of normal media at all.
Yeah.
So necessarily it's elevated for them. It's
Yeah.
it's more important, and they have a different idea of what normal is, and so they latch onto unusual aspects of
And
Sonic.
then they channel all their repressed godless instincts into their Sonic fandom.
Kind of.
That's what I'm saying.
And then the Sonic media creates a character like Rouge the Bat,
Yeah.
and
Imagine.
throws a match into
Yeah.
all of that dried wood.
But it does.
the first
I think it
cleavage
mostly,
some of these children had ever seen.
I think it mostly though does go back to the sort of 06 era, but also stuff
Yeah.
around there where it was like 06 is the only one where it's like this game was unacceptable, but has fans.
Yeah.
And other games from around then are just like, this is just kind of a bad game. But it has. There's a huge Sonic fan base that originated then, so necessarily you end up with a lower quality of fan base. Because it selects for people who are passionate about something bad.
Yeah. That's why I spoke to Chris about the deep spiritual sickness that comes.
Oh no,
with...
that was a very good line. I was actually I was listening to the stream while on the toilet.
Right.
Latency isn't as bad as I thought.
But I'm just saying, they really lucked out by not accidentally letting one of those people.
Yes, no.
Imagine they'd hired, or to take a different way, imagine they'd hired you.
Yeah.
Like
Jesus.
It'd have been all Kinterbor and rubbish like that.
Yeah.
It would.
Or like, imagine like if they'd hired like an unreconstituted end of Mobius era you and let you into the building, because frankly they might have done, because they were flailing around. They were a drowning man then.
I think they did. I mean, I noticed. Didn't you notice the bit in this film where Supersonic pushed the big Death Egg laser back, Chris? Did you notice?
I did notice
You
that.
must have been listening, right, to the story.
Yeah, the laser was sucked back into the gun.
Yeah.
Clipping the bit off the moon, something else out of the game.
Yeah.
Again, a ridiculous thing that it's amazing they put in the game.
Amazing.
But they make a big joke out of it, so it's okay.
And then never mention it again.
He pissed on the moon.
Yeah.
He pissed on the moon.
How do you like that, Obama?
There is a 50-50 chance that that's in there because of that.
Yes, I think more than 50-50, if I'm quite honest. They know. Tyson Hesse knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, just good choices, good decisions all around, honestly, throughout this film. Despite, there's a couple, like we said, there's a couple of executional bits and pieces that could be a little better, but like, everything feels like it's being produced as a consequence of good decision making. And then you get to the post-credit scene, and now the next movie is going to be about the Brotherhood of Metallics.
I mean, that's it. So, like, that's the conclusion you draw, is that they've somehow managed to, through intelligent filmmaking and recognition of themes, make this feel and work like a trilogy that has ended with the death and redemption of the villain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you keep going and have it be as good. And the answer, I mean, in Sonic fans' eyes, the answers will be, well, just don't do humans and just do even more and more cartoon animals in CGI.
No.
I finally agree no.
Yeah.
Like, and I wouldn't have been able to say that with the last film, but they've pulled it round. It
Yeah.
makes sense to me, the setting now.
Yeah. Like, it is a terrible shame. Bobby Schroeder's made this point regularly, and it's true. It's a terrible shame that we haven't been able to get at least Amy, if not Amy and Rouge, because it means there's no female characters in the film except for Maddie. And that is a very unfortunate problem, but the films are better for not having forced those characters in yet, because it gives this stuff room, a story to be told. What place have Amy or Rouge in the story this film is telling? There's barely a place for Knuckles and Tails.
Yeah, exactly. I think they've made good decisions about how they paced this out.
It is unfortunate that those decisions mean no girls.
Yes.
But
I don't know, I feel like that's locked into story decisions at the source material.
Made in the early 2000s,
that's a greater because Amy isn't even a playable character in Sonic Adventure 2 after being playable in Sonic 1, and they try to give her any reason to be in the game by giving her that moment with Shadow, which they did better in this than they've done anywhere else by, again, let me stress it here at the end, giving the role to Sonic.
It seems obvious, doesn't it?
I don't know why I never thought it, but actually allowing the hero to be emotionally honest and relate his struggle and life and experiences to Shadows and bring him round that way.
Yeah. And I agree that it does feel like a quite coherent and complete trilogy now, but like, honestly,
I feel like whatever you do, you could do it without Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would have been, whenever they thought he wasn't coming back for the third one.
Yeah.
It would have been unfortunate, but you would have just have had to recast Robotnik. You couldn't have finished a trilogy without Robotnik in it. And it's one of the limitations of doing anything like this
Of
in
course,
live
yeah.
action, like any TV show particularly that's adapted from something else, where you are at the mercy of the existence of your actors.
Yes.
I get the kid who doesn't want to play Kid Flash is going off. He's not going to be in it anymore. So that important character and sidekick to the main hero is just now dropped from the show. Bye. See you later. This is the problem. And fortunately, it didn't happen this time. And they got the character to a point where if that is it for him, that's okay. If he doesn't come back, it's okay now.
Yep.
But it does leave the question of open
Almost
of
actively
what do
good,
you
in
do
fact.
next?
Yeah.
And yet, I do wonder if these films are going to lose a step, like creatively and commercial appeal wise.
Without
I
him,
think it's
100%.
possible. Yeah.
I can't imagine watching one of these without him in it.
Yeah.
Even though I think he probably shouldn't be in the next one because
Yeah.
he's dead. And he died in one of the biggest explosions I've ever seen on film.
Yeah.
And it was emotionally satisfying, and it was the end of his story. Like,
Yeah.
And it was Dr. Robotnik. But then, so we get the post-credit scene.
okay,
And it feels like even what's in that post-credit scene is created with a view to potentially not being able to have Robotnik in the next film.
I'm not even sure how you have, for all the talk we've had, and I agree with all of it, I'm not sure how you do Sonic and his cartoon friends versus cartoon robots and involve
And have
any
it
humans.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think. I wonder. You say that she's done a tremendous disservice. I wonder if they have bigger plans for the Kristen Ritter character.
Kirsten Ritter, perhaps.
Oh,
yes.
they certainly should.
Um,
That's a way through. Yes.
Yeah,
Or-
I wonder
and it's,
if
it's a
these
big
are-
jump up, but I mean, I suppose I could see them doing something with Sage from Frontiers.
Okay, well-
if that's something Robotnik could have left behind.
I don't know what that is.
It's a little girl who is an AI.
Okay,
But
right.
she's represented via hologram, and
Okay.
she's very much positioned by the game, and it's not allegorical. It's very much in the text of Robotnik's daughter.
Right, I see. Okay.
I'm kind of talking myself round about this now. So okay, right.
Okay.
So post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene.
Metallics.
Metallics is a Metal Sonic appears, and in the best decision they've made in the series so far, a load more eyes
a
light
bunch
up,
more show
and there's
up.
a load more of them.
Surely
so I
that
think
tickled
there's-
something in your brain.
100%.
Oh, hell yeah.
I will say I've been fending off people excited that they're doing, like, I don't think you need to be referencing the Brotherhood of Metallics to come up with that decision, and I
No.
Yeah.
doubt they are. I'm not saying that Tyson Hess has never heard of the Brotherhood of Metallics,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's what they're doing.
I think
But-
it's pretty unlikely that the film does Metal Sonic as Pinocchio, which is the general current, canon Japanese approach to the character. He's the Metal Sonic who wants to be the real Sonic. I don't feel like that's what you do with him in a film. So just simply the idea of so what my brain did was we've got an army of regular Metal Sonics. Maybe the boss is Neo Metal Sonic, or an Emperor Metallics figure, a boss. So maybe the
A
boss
big
is
one.
Neo Metal. But now I've thought maybe the boss is Sage,
Right.
Robotnik's
Oh, yes.
daughter and Robotnik's sons, as it were. You do that. That's one. No,
Yes.
I think so. There's sort of like two schools. I'd be interested to see where you guys landed on this one. There's like two schools of thought, I think, going around among fans about what we're looking at in this scene, which is either it's the Sonic Terminator, in that it's about some Sonic robots have been sent back from the future to kill Sonic, because the scene of the Metallics appearing is
It
very
appears in a time
the
travel.
Terminator
Yes.
appears,
Yeah,
that
it
the
is, isn't it?
ground
Yeah.
is carved out from underneath him, or and Amy, who appears then, is like also from this future here, come back to prevent
She
it.
seems used to fighting them, doesn't she?
Yes.
She does, exactly. She's got familiarity. Or Sonic, in his joke about overshooting the end of the race that they're doing, has run so fast
Oh.
that he has run into the future.
Oh, I've not heard that one, but yes.
Well, that could work.
No, I think it probably will be time travel, because if you're I don't think it's a mistake that they've gone Metal Sonic and Amy at the same time. I think they're nodding to the
No,
fact
that's
that
the yeah.
those
very
in the
much
know that
purposeful.
they came from the same game. that game was all about time travel. That doesn't mean they're going to do any time travel in it. But why not, eh? We've done other stuff. It's about time for a time travel one, isn't it?
Time travel-y.
Feels time travel-y. I even wondered, watching it this final time, if there is more than one Metal Sonic, or if it's just done some time travel loads of times to all appear in the same spot.
You know what?
I mean, I think if you do time travel, like the idea that they've come back from some terrible future where the Metallixes have conquered the planet. And I'm sorry, we will be calling them the Metallixes.
Yes, of course.
And, and that's where Sage or Emperor Metallix or Neo Metal Sonic or wherever, that's where they're based, and they've sent these back. It certainly opens up the way to like Silver or Blaze.
Exactly. So that was what I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say, if we're doing time travel, if we're doing a bad future or an alternate future because someone went back in time, once you've got time travel and you've got robots, those robots are going to go back in time to change, to make it bad so the present is bad.
Yeah.
And now we've got an alternate world where things are bad. Now we've got Silver or Blaze or both. Yeah, I do think that there's an opportunity for them to do that, and I don't know why they wouldn't.
Counterpoint, like the way my mind immediately goes with, if you're talking about time travel and you're talking about the Sonic movies specifically and the way they've approached material to date,
This is going to be more sensible than my idea.
is they take the opportunity to do a big Back to the Future riff.
Oh.
Basically just, there's going to be a future thread of robots and apocalypse and stuff like that. Yeah, you can weave these characters in, but maybe the meat and potatoes of the movie is something a bit more domestic and a bit more using characters to revisit past versions of characters, alternate timelines. That is how you give the human cast plenty
That's
to
true,
do.
yes.
Yeah.
I can definitely see them doing some alternate future stuff with like old Tom and Maddie hunkered in the ruins leading the resistance.
Yeah. Or, because I think a key, if you want to get Jim Carrey back, is you give him stuff to do that's different and new.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that he'd have come back for this movie if not for the carrot of you can play two people.
Yeah.
You can embrace the technical and acting challenge that represents.
Has he ever done that in anything before? Because it seems like the sort of thing he would have been doing up and down, full Nutty Professor stuff. But
because he's done loads of films where he's like playing characters with dual person, like The Mask or Me, Myself, and Irene and stuff like that. But he's never done this before. I think you want to give Jim Carrey stuff he's never done before.
So what's
if,
your idea?
in my Back to the Future kind of principle, just have them be hopping through multiple timelines where he gets to play all different versions of Dr. Robotnik. You know what I mean?
Doesn't, and it wouldn't diminish him dying in the end of the third one then either.
We'd be in realities where that didn't happen and he was a different guy.
Yeah, like he could play like a good guy. He could play a Dr. Kintabor
Yeah,
type
I was
Dr.
trying not to
Robotnik.
say it.
Oh, that's so much now that you've said it.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is one where he's taken over the world fully, and we can see a bit more of a Satayem-ish sort of world.
Yeah.
Give him a robot arm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one time I've ever thought that would be. Give Jim Carrey a robot arm. And he got close to getting that in this one anyway. With the
I think I think if you position that right to Jim Carrey, he'd be like, that sounds fun. And that is the way that I can see them doing it, in a way that's like, it feels true to the type of movie they like making. Because, think of how many comedy sequences they're going to be able to get out of those alternate futures. But you're still touching base with Sonic CD. You can still get in these characters like Silver and Blaze if you want. I mean, the only thing I don't like about this idea is like, I don't know, where's Rouge getting in there?
We've got to get to Rouge at some point.
Yeah.
It would feel a little weird to be jumping to Silver and Blaze or whatever before Rouge. And
I do agree.
Even though it does make it would be like, here's the girl movie now. We're finally doing girls, and you put to lower Rouge to that level and just have her be the other one in the girl movie because we're finally bringing girls in now. But it does feel, it's one of those unfortunate things. What was the recent example? Oh, well, Transformers 1, an entertaining film. But, there's one character in that movie who is very much unusual in the landscape that the film is set up. And it's, you've got classic Transformers characters, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee for comic relief, and Alita One's here because she is the woman.
Yeah.
But there's any number of female Autobots who could have filled that role. They chose Alita 1, fair enough. Then you got Starscream, Soundwave, Shockwave, Sentinel Prime, Arachnid here from Transformers Prime. Why is there a bad girl in it? So that the good girl has somebody she can beat up. That's the purpose that character exists for. Like, that's why that character was chosen to have that role in the film.
Right.
And that's kind of where you get to the sort of Hollywood thinking with the inclusion of Rouge. It's so Amy can have somebody that's not just a metal Sonic that she can hit with her hammer.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to just be that, but you know that will be part of any thinking behind when and where do we put Rouge in. It'll be so that there's a bad girl that Amy can fight.
Rouge would be a really good assistant for Agent Stone if he was the main baddie.
Yeah.
Stones, you say? I like stones, and do a whole thing like that.
And she's running around him. So he gets to, kind of play underdog even though he's ostensibly the main bad guy.
Yeah.
But then, of course, Rouge isn't bad at the same time, because even at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, it turns out she's secretly working for the president all along.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah. Like she's not actually a bad guy, and that would be the turn of any story involving the character.
Or if you want to if you do want to do a version of this that doesn't completely waste Kristen Ritter's time, maybe she can be working with Gunn and Kristen Ritter in some. Because I mean, like, she typically works with Gunn, right?
Yes, she does, and she has in Sonic X, she has a female partner named Topaz.
Oh yes, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, a human person. Yes, a human gun agent that she works.
Normal
with.
name for a Sonic character. Funny name for a human.
It is an anime character.
Oh yeah.
Remember? So yeah.
And Kristen Ritter has pretty big eyes.
They've chosen the name of a precious stone to give to a person who's partners with Rouge. Right, jewel thief. Right, yeah. You know, Rouge is a jewel thief, right, Dave? I don't know if you actually know these things about the character.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing a yes or no.
We all know about Rouge the Bat.
I just don't know if you know what Rouge's character is.
I will say that in the years of, I've started to think of her more as a mercenary, and so all this talk of her being, secretly a good guy or whatever, I sort of think, well, whoever's paying, that's what I think Rouge is, and I base that on nothing.
Yeah.
No, that's about right.
I mean, look, I'm sticking to my wish from the previous podcast we did, where I'm like, I want the spin-off series where Rouge teams up with Wade's sister from the FBI.
Yes!
I mean, I think, to be honest, if they do make a Shadow series, that's probably the place to bring Rouge in.
Yeah.
I don't know in what capacity exactly, because it's hard to know what a Shadow series is about. Because, hey, this is a thing, is that, yes, they do the thing where they kill Shadow, and I was pleasantly surprised enough that they limited the idea that he was even still alive to a post-credits scene.
Which, by the way, in my cinema, every child had left. They all think he's dead.
Shame.
I don't get why cinema viewing habits have not altered now to take into account that the film's not over yet.
Well, because they do... they have the fake credits, and then the art credits, and then they have the extra scene, and then everybody... It's like 20 more minutes. Like, everyone's like, actually, we're leaving. Because all that's going to happen...
child to sit still through.
Yeah, and also everybody knows that the actual ending is... It's not going to be good, is it? It's not going to matter. You're not going to go like, thank God I stayed for that.
Yeah.
It's literally just like... they might as well have put up the text, Shadow will return.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I knew... I didn't know, like I hadn't read, but I knew that that's what the post-credit scene would be. Like, obviously, it'll be him. But what I think was good about it is that, they've again, filmmaking, intelligent ideas. There was a risk. There's probably a draft of this somewhere along the way where he didn't die and was now the fourth child in that family.
Oh my God.
But what they've done with the character now is they have taken him not off the table, but certainly set him aside in such a way that he doesn't have to be in the next film.
Yeah, exactly.
And because if there is a problem with the character of Shadow the Hedgehog, it's figuring out what to do with him after you've resolved his story arc, which the games did. It took them 3 games to do it, but And they've never had a place for him since. And everybody complains about how Shadow isn't allowed to be a character in the comics. Well, that's because he just has to be Hedgehog. That's just all there is to the character
He
now.
died,
and
at the end of
that
Sonic
is a
Adventure 2,
challenge.
and he should have stayed dead.
They ended the story.
He should stay dead at the end of this one as well. But they've already.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, as I say, Sonic Adventure 2 doesn't leave any questions about the character. His origins are a massive, coincidence that he's a hedgehog, but it's pretty clearly explained why he was made and where he came from and everything. And then, for some ungodly reason, like Shadow the Hedgehog's origin already sounds like a handbook entry to a comic book character that linearly represents in an in-universe style 30 years of retcons piled on top of each other, hat upon hat upon hat. And
Except they did it within like 2 games.
well, I mean, that's and the one thing they did was and he was genetically engineered from alien data to gather the Chaos Emeralds for the devil from the Bible to destroy the world. The rest of it is all Sonic Adventure 2. And that's so bafflingly moronic, like that was added on there. They shouldn't ever feel like they have to do that. But
And
as
I
I
don't
said
think they
earlier
will.
on, the way his origin is presented in this, there are still unanswered questions about him, in the sense that there are still unanswered questions about the connection between Sonic's world and Earth,
Yeah.
just in general in this film series, that I
Yes.
don't know if they ever truly intend to answer, if
The-
they just want to keep ambiguous.
A big dangling thing, and again, listening to the last episode we did about this, and I said, what they will have to do, and I said this confidently thinking there was no alternative, is use the third film to finally tell us anything about what's going on in these films. Because the whole thing started out with this, there is this other world, and
Yeah.
don't worry, you don't need to know any about it yet.
Yeah.
And then more characters keep showing up from this other world. Shadow's come here on a meteorite.
Shadow was presumably sent here with a purpose. And it's not, it's not called out in dialogue or anything. It's not slammed in there as a big obvious sequel hook, but it is a quite obvious unanswered question that anything could explore in the future. And the idea of him having sent there by the Black Arms, that would be fine, I think. If they maybe took a movie in Hedgehog and gave him these chaos energy powers and sent him to Earth for some reason, maybe to find the emerald that everybody knows is hidden there. This stuff can tie together in a way that makes much more sense than anything that was ever in the games.
And I'm
but
glad-
they don't have to do it in the next film, and that's what's good about what they've done with
I'm
Shadow
glad
here.
now that they. I rescind what I said before. I'm glad now that they didn't go deep into
Yeah.
the origin story of all of this in the third film, because there just wouldn't have been room. It would have felt tacked on. But it's getting weirder and weirder with every film that they'll bring
Yeah.
in more guys from there. Tails came in from there. I can't remember when.
I mean, Tails. The thing about him in Tails and Knuckles was they came there in response to Sonic coming there.
Yeah.
And Shadow. So that is the one thing, is that there is still a coincidence in this movie, which is that's a hedgehog. But we do know there is some connection between this world and, like, why is Sonic an orphan? Where are all the other hedgehogs? There are threads here that could be tied together into something if they ever want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And eventually they will. And will it be the fourth film? Will it be the fifth?
I mean, if you're involving time travel, I mean, you could.
Yeah.
You could factor it in there somewhere if they have to destroy Sonic because of the importance of Sonic beyond he's Sonic and he's important because he's the main character. If there wants to be something about his powers, where they come from, why he has them, what their purpose is, if there's some destiny that was planned for them, if the Black Arms could be involved in that. You don't know.
Yeah.
There are threads here. Who do we think will voice Amy?
I know. I've been
Let's
thinking
put the
that.
prediction in.
This one feels like a much more open question because, like,
Yeah.
Amy is a character that a lady can voice her.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyone.
Anyone,
Any lady.
like just someone
I
with
mean, I
good
thought-
comedy chops,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
I wonder specifically with Amy, though. Oh, unless you were going to make a prediction there, Chris. Let's get it.
No, it wasn't a prediction. I think we could be about to. What were you going to say?
I wonder what they play her personality like.
That's it. I mean, because even the games are currently, and the comics are currently actively on purpose trying to move away from she loves Sonic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would be that.
Yeah, but why shouldn't she? In a sense. Also, on the other side.
Also,
honestly, the reason
on top
is
of her actual personality.
Yeah.
The,
I mean,
the
I think,
reason is because she's the only girl, and it would just be too reductive and old.
It's a
Yeah.
bad look.
But
I
not if
think
she isn't
there is
the
a
only
great
girl.
danger that they go girl boss with it as well, just based on the way that that scene has like Linda.
Yeah.
I was going to say Linda. What's the Linda Hamilton? But I wanted to say Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
That she's badass girl boss
Come
from the
with me if you
future
want
who's
to
going to be
live,
so
yeah.
much more competent than the dumb
Yeah,
boys.
that's what it's gonna
And
be.
That's as bad.
Yeah, but that's
That's
not...
what it's going to be. She's going to be. Oh, so therefore, cockroach lady.
Oh,
Natasha Lyonne.
That'd be left field, wouldn't it? And wouldn't she be good?
oh, I can sort of get on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Like my cynical.
Yeah.
Hey, I had my cynical head on me when she pulled the hood down. Obviously, I knew it was going to be Amy. Come on, hammer and everything.
Yeah.
But I wasn't surprised when she didn't speak.
Yeah, because they haven't cast her. They don't know what the direction's going to be.
And that's it. And it's like, I'm so happy for Colleen O'Shaughnessy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed her work for a long time.
Yeah.
I was very happy when it turned out she was playing Tails in the games. And I'm so happy for her. It's the most parasocial I am with anybody. When I see those photos of her on the red carpet or whatever alongside these, I'm sorry, real movie stars.
Yeah.
She's an anime dub voice actress
Yeah.
who has fallen into this. And I'm so happy for her that it's happened to her, because they made the mistake of needing Tails to speak in the post-credits scene of Sonic 1.
Yeah.
They were lucky
And then-
that she's been able to fit what they needed her to do, and she's good at it. She fits in the film, but they don't want to lump themselves with another one
No,
that might not be as good.
That's it. I mean, they could have recast for Sonic 2, and I think a lot of people thought they would.
Yeah.
Tom Holland as Tails.
Yeah,
Everybody could have
or-
seen it
yeah,
happening,
yeah.
you know?
Timothy
And it
Chalamet.
it wouldn't have necessarily not worked, but I think that they had got to that point where they had begun that conversation with fandom, in that it would have negatively impacted the reception of the film and of them as filmmakers if they had done that.
Yeah.
And so Colleen O'Shaughnessy gets to be on top of the world doing this stuff, and I want to state again, I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to denigrate her talent,
But
No,
the part,
she's great.
that's
but part of the
that's
reason you're so
why
happy.
Amy doesn't talk in this, because they don't want to cast somebody and then be locked into it.
Part of the reason you're so happy is because this doesn't happen. Like there's things in place to stop that from happening normally, and they made a mistake in a sense, I guess, because the first movie's production was what it was.
Yeah.
That like.
Here's a little reference for the kids at home. It's Tails' voice from the games.
And then they'll oops.
Oops.
We
Can't have that happen again.
Yeah, went too far on that one. But yeah, I mean, like I
Oh,
said,
we have to make another one of these?
yeah, I mean, surely they can't have been counting on that after the first one.
Yeah,
But
Or
right.
if they did, they thought they could recast, and then they saw where they sat with their audience and realized they couldn't.
But I don't know.
Get
like,
that bag, Colleen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very curious
Get
to
paid.
see how they approach Amy, because I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought to it, and I don't want her to be generic girl boss. We've seen the Mario movie; like it's boring when you do that.
Yep. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy is as likely a casting as anything, but that only won't be her because she was Peach.
The thing is, though, this isn't the series that has done that so far. Like none of.
Well, it doesn't hire the flavor of the month, does it? It's
No.
Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves are sort of evergreen popular performers.
And they're people who, with a bit of specificity to them, they they didn't just cast. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm struggling to sort of pick an example. They didn't just cast like Dave Bautista as Knuckles. Say,
Oh, that would have been pretty good casting.
it would have been pretty good, but it would have been much more fashionable, or
Yes.
or just any other. Okay, all right. Here's a worse one. They didn't cast The Rock.
The Rock. Yeah.
As Knuckles.
Which is the
yeah.
boring version of what they did do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. And
It wouldn't have been bad either.
No.
No,
But it wouldn't have been as good.
No.
but it would have been more uninteresting.
Yeah.
They tend to cast actors who have a little bit about them and who's like, oh, that person's going to actually bring something to
I
this
get
part.
why you've cast that actor.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I like to think they'll do the same for Amy. I can't think who that
I'm
is.
fully locked into that Natasha
No.
Lyonne thing now.
That would be fun. That's the thing. They've got to do something interesting. They've got to do something fun. Because, or who's the other Natasha Lyonne that you like?
The other Natasha Lyonne that I like.
Yes, but Asian.
But Asia, Awkwafina.
Same voice. Yes.
Awkwafina. Oh, I
It's,
could.
it's the same gimmick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could see it, but that's a bit Disney, isn't it?
And she's in
Yes.
everything.
Yeah,
is the
but
thing.
that's
in
it. She
everything,
would be
yeah.
Yeah.
the
Keanu
obvious.
and
Yeah,
Idris are in
exactly, yeah.
everything, yeah.
You need something that's so in the case of Knuckles and Shadow, and this is a shame and it's a problem, but both of those characters, because they are male and were invented when they were invented, are, compared to Amy, because she is female and invented when she was invented, far more interesting and robust characters.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to do a lot of reinventing on Amy because there's
Yeah.
not much to her.
Yeah.
And they get the opportunity to pour anything they want into there, which they will probably do via hiring someone with a lot of personality built in.
I guess the thing
That's why I came up with Natasha Lyonne.
the thing from my point of view is, though, I want them to do with Amy what they've done with these movies, which is, yeah, you reinvent, yeah, let's bring something more to the table than was originally there, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and just forget where we've come from with this. I like that they haven't discarded the legwork they've done in the first movie. I don't want them to discard the legwork of Amy Rose as a character in established media. Like, I feel like it'd be a little bit sad in a way to say, like, the only way to make Amy interesting is if we discard everything that anyone has
Alright.
ever previously done with her.
I've thought of something here. There are two versions of Amy.
Fortune cards.
There are two versions of Amy.
Yeah.
One is the hammer-wielding version that they have now already changed by
Yeah.
making her competent enough to, like, take out robots that Sonic the Hedgehog can't. So she's
Yeah.
obviously gonna be girl boss in some way.
In that respect, yeah.
The other version of Amy is the cute little original one who fancied Sonic
Yeah.
when she was smaller. Well, we're doing time travel. We're doing about the way her life went
Yeah.
when things went bad.
Okay,
we can
yeah.
have two versions.
Yeah. I just think
We don't know we're doing any of that, but we've decided.
I want the version of Amy that fancies Sonic in here somewhere.
Right.
Because I just think that's the core of how the character originated.
There is
I'd like to see that reflected in some way.
It's
There's a
the
way
fawning.
to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do fawning like, oh, I love you, Sonic, because I'm a little girl.
No, can't do that.
But
yeah.
we can do, like...
Maybe you should voice Amy.
yeah. It's supposed to be a secret.
I mean, I think that the funny thing is, or the thing that makes it difficult to figure out what way they'll go is, if they don't do fawning but play it straight, say as her being the aggressor, shall we say, and Sonic being, taken aback by this strong, confident she-woman of the future.
Yeah.
Be a bit odd if the film ended with them not getting together, because that's how that goes in films.
Yeah.
And obviously they can't ever get together.
No, they
Because that's a
can't, can
betrayal
they?
of the whole point.
Yeah.
Well, you just have story in the meantime, don't you? You have twists and turns. But, like, yes, I can imagine this design of Amy being a bit, like, sly, like, oh, you're good looking, like,
Yeah, stuff like that.
to Sonic, who is, as the films have gone on, starting to read slightly older anyway, and he
Yeah.
started out about 16.
Yeah.
I can see them doing...
I don't want to see a horny Sonic the Hedgehog
No.
in this fourth film.
We're not going there, no. But I can imagine a little bit of flirting going on and that being fine.
Yeah.
And that just ticking that box and that being that
Yeah,
done
yeah.
with, And then, if we're doing time travel
There's
and
a
she's...
lesser version of the movie where it ends with Amy grabbing him and bending him over and planting one on him. That's
Bending him over that
Right.
way. Right, okay.
Right.
planting a big smacker on him. Get your minds out of the gutter, you Sonic fans.
Okie doke.
I don't think when you're talking about what
Gonna
you're
wait for the
talking
chat to
about,
catch up with that.
I don't think you describe that as bending someone over. It's like, there's another phrase for that.
Anyway,
Dipping. dipping
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her being the one.
Dipping is the word.
The Wreck-It
Romantically.
Ralph
Yes.
The
approach here,
romantic
where the,
dip. No, we won't see Sonic and Amy doing the romantic dip in the next film.
that's what the kids are calling it these days.
But yeah, there's clearly, just from this conversation, there's room to do all of this stuff and
Yeah.
to simultaneously like do what's originally there and change things. And imagine
Yeah.
if there was this sly, hey, good-looking version of Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who turns
Well,
out to be Sarah Connor, and the prior to the robot takeover version of her is more fawning of him
Yeah.
because they're both attracted to him, but they have different personalities. I don't know.
Yeah. But the thing is, at this point, I trust them.
Yes,
trust-
that's it.
Yes, they've particularly after after the second one felt like it put things on track, but struggled to find the balance. Where this one just really surprised with the level of intelligent thought that went into how to adapt that video game in the sense of what from the game is good
Yeah.
and works and needs to go in the film, and how does that map onto, tie into, and flow out of what we have done in the previous films.
Yeah.
There's a level, of like trust, of belief that they, they're not just mindlessly listening to the people on the internet and doing what they say.
Nor are they
they're-
flailing around in movie exec land where they have no good ideas and don't know what anybody wants.
They've got a pipeline from somewhere that's got them tuned into the right approach to take to these ideas. But I do think that, as you say, like more so than Knuckles or Tails or Shadow, Amy is the one that it's hardest to just put on the film. Because with Knuckles and Shadow, you just put them there. Knuckles, yes, they have to strip back down to the core of the character, but the core of the character is the same as it ever was.
Yeah.
Knuckles is the same. Tails is the same. Because with Tails, like, they can't have, he was bullied and he looked up to Sonic and he chased after him one day. They have to do something a little bit different because he lives on another world and watched his adventures from there. But but the core is there. But the core of Amy is fancy Sonic, and that's not a core. That's not enough of a core to like have the whole characterization be based around.
Yes.
So they are going to have to do more work with Amy, and it purely based on that post-credit scene, it does feel like they've already realized that.
Yeah.
And the groundwork is laid. They have a runway into what they're doing with the character. Yeah.
And there's a really
and we'll
boring
see.
place they could go with it, but
Yes.
again, I trust them not to.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Again, it's crazy that I trust them.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I trust the makers of the first Sonic trailer.
And as a result,
now, you know?
specifically,
I don't think they are the same people.
Well,
even,
no.
are they really?
Specifically,
the
what
people
I
who-
trust now is that whatever they come up with for Metal Sonic, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like it,
Yeah.
and it's gonna. What an again put throwing all knowledge of Sonic the comic out. We've never heard of the Brotherhood of Metallics. What could have been a better thing to happen at that second in the film than more eyes to light up
showing
Yeah.
up,
and
yeah.
more of them
Well,
to come in?
When you've just done a whole film about the evil doppelganger,
Yeah, exactly.
you can't just have one
Yes.
Metal Sonic.
Exactly.
You gotta,
And they
you know.
they fixed that. Yeah, that's it. Until those eyes opened up, I was going, yeah, okay. Like I
Well,
knew
you
that
come
was what
on,
it was going to be.
Metal Sonic.
No, I knew that was good. What it was going to be, and it was like that ticking the box thing. And I was like, well, okay, now we have to do this version
That's
of
the
Sonic
next
being
one. We
back.
all that's it. It was like we said, we knew the third one would be either Shadow or
Yeah.
Metal Sonic. So whichever one it wasn't, that had
That
to be
would
what
be
the
the
next,
next
one
one.
was.
And now
we
we're
knew
getting-
that meant Amy would also be in it because come on,
Right.
obviously.
And now we're getting loads of them, and that means, in the local parlance, Daleks. That
Yeah.
means we're going to get something cool about loads of robots tromping around through cities. Presumably, we'll see them invade, human
Yeah.
cities.
Station Square.
Yeah. And whatever cities are in this, London is in it, Tokyo, Seattle. I know those
I think
locations
they have
are
most
involved.
of the normal ones. Frankly, when they at the end of in the post-credit scene, Sonic had run all the way up to the border of New York.
Oh, there we go. So we're getting Daleks invade New York, and the
Yeah.
Dalek is Metal Sonic. This is going to be amazing. I'm going to love this film, whatever happens in it.
And this is
I am still a little hesitant just about the whole. It would have just been nice, as it is with anything, if they'd done the trilogy, and then maybe stopped for an extra year or two until the fourth one comes along, because it's like this is a trilogy. bizarrely, this has worked out to be a trilogy with themes and everything. And I just feel like that needs a little extra time to breathe as a story, as a set, as a unit of filmmaking before we pile on into whatever's next. But they put the teaser for the fourth one there in the post credits. So what are you gonna do?
the thing
On
is,
we
it's
go.
March-
The machine, more content for the mill. Hollywood
March 2027,
must be
though,
fed.
you know, so that's a while.
Yeah,
It feels
Well,
like
it's
a
only
while.
just over 2 years.
there's always
Yeah.
there's always
Average
2
length
years between them. Yeah. In fact, the sign off for the last episode that we did for the Sonic 2 film was like, I guess we'll probably see you in about 2 years. And yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough, here we are. We'll
Yeah.
see you again in 2 years.
Well, I think with this one was about 2.5 because it was like Valentine's Day. The first
really?
two were Valentine's Day time, weren't they? They were spring
No, the-
releases, and this
the first one was. Oh,
First
yes.
one was it was Abby's birthday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then the second one
I
was
keep thinking that it was just before Christmas, but that was Cats.
Oh god. Yeah, no, it was Valentine's Day the first one. The second one was a summer movie, and then the last one
Right.
was a Christmas movie.
okay.
The release, I should say.
Well, that's still about 2 years.
yeah,
two and a bit.
two and a
so
bit.
it's about
yeah.
the same 2 and a bit for the next one. Yeah.
The thing is, like, and this was a thing that I found interesting to realize the other day. The Sonic movies are now like the series that I actually look forward to the most
Yeah.
in terms of movies. Like for me, like really the only other movie series that I personally like. Yeah, I'm kind of counting down the days till I get to see the next one of those is Avatar, and like because I love those movies. But apart from that, yeah, I'm the one. It's me and Jim Cameron. But like, but that and sort of, I guess I just like films about blue people.
Blue guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Blue guys.
With
And
too
yet-
many sequels. Yeah.
And yet, not the Smurfs.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
But yeah, like these are the only movie series at this stage where I'm like, yeah, mark that down in my diary for 2-3 years time. Where whatever else is going on,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I'm blocking out some time there for that.
Gosh, I wonder if that'll be. You know, we'll have finished STCTP, but we'll probably come
Yes.
back and do an episode.
That's it. STCTP will be over when the next
Yeah.
one of these films comes out. But yeah, I'm down
Another
to
one
come
of
back
these,
and
it's
talk
fun,
about
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it turns into a serious business at that point. It's not a Disney film, so it shouldn't. But we can always just put it up on the feed and scare everybody when it happens.
Well, especially since it's going to be a straight adaptation of the whole Brotherhood of Metallic story.
Well,
Yeah, that's
straight.
it.
I don't know. We'll
No,
see.
I think it's going to be pretty straight. And then the fifth film is End of Mobius,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've got that in the. I know you're cooking that up.
Mm, yeah.
Then Secrets of Mobius.
Yeah.
Tyson Hesse brought him in.
Yeah.
Do you think, realistically, do you think there's a chance Tyson Hesse has read End of Mobius?
Okay, I don't think Tyson Hesse has read End of Mobius. But yes, there's an absolutely realistic chance that he did. He was a Sonic fan on the internet in the
Yeah.
90s. There was like 20 Sonic fanfics back then, and if
Yeah.
you wanted to read them, you had to read them.
Right.
They were
So
all
has he
held
read
on the
it?
same website.
Can you find out whether he's read it?
Maybe.
I don't think you could live with that knowledge.
Because then that would introduce the seed of doubt into my head. I
Yeah.
said I trust the creative instincts of all these people, but
Except, hang on a minute.
yeah, if someone in the production has read End of Mobius,
I feel like if there's anyone, if I was going to pick one prominent Sonic fan to have read the End of Mobius, it's Ian Flynn.
okay, okay,
Yeah, I bet he read that sort of thing.
And he's somebody whose name you don't hear spoken in conjunction with these films at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's had any input on them. I would be surprised if he
don't
didn't
think
have
so.
a little bit somewhere, but
I don't think
you
he
know,
has. Don't think he has. As
I
far
don't
as
know.
I'm- as far as I'm
Sonic
aware.
would probably quote more song lyrics if he had, you know.
I mean, if he did, you'd see probably more End of Mobius in there because Ian Flynn's a big fan of the End of Mobius.
Big fan of the End of Mobius, yes. Yeah.
Second biggest fan after Chris.
Oh yeah,
Chris,
third
tell
biggest
me,
after Dave.
in the last 10 years, who has read The End of Mobius? It's you.
Well, I have had it read to me.
That
That's
counts.
reading.
Audiobooks are reading.
Audiobooks are reading.
Well, in that case, everyone who listens to the Patreon too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but that's via you.
There's
You're
a
patient
delay.
zero.
There's a delay, even when it's a live stream. There's a delay. Chris gets it
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
You're the biggest fan of End of Mobius.
Now you've
No,
made a leap
Dave is
there.
the biggest fan of
Yeah.
End of Mobius.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you like it more? No, you do like it.
Hell
more than
yeah, I think
Chris.
it's
Of course
great.
he likes it. You
Yeah.
heard him. breathe.
Yeah.
You're
No, that's true.
giggling all the
I've
way
only
through.
ever-
That is cool.
It has only ever been a source of joy.
Yeah.
Originally when I was writing it, and then later when I got to make Chris hear it.
God, who do you think's going
like
to play Sonic's child who lets his mother die because he's halfway through reading a chapter of a book?
Well, that's Tom Holland. he missed
Tom
his
Holland's
chance
too
before.
old for that now. You got
To
to
voice a character. No, you're right. Yeah, well, then we don't know.
Okay.
An as yet unfamous boy.
Who are the popular
Boys.
Who are the
these days.
popular boys of
Actors
the day?
and them perverts again?
Well, look, I think we should stop.
Yes, I
Okay.
do too. I tend to agree.
So, thank you once again
3.5 hours.
for having me on this. And yeah, again, unless they release a bizarre and unwanted Paramount Plus spin-off that no one
Less
likes
of the
except,
unwanted. I want it.
that no one likes
In fact,
except us.
We never found out why they made the Knuckles TV series, and all I can imagine is that it was a stipulation in his contract. When they got Idris to do the film, they were like, "We'll give you a TV series."
Well,
All
no,
right,
I
fine.
think it was just more that it happened to be made. Well, they announced they were going to do it, what, 2 years ago? So it's 2003. We're barely out the back end of the pandemic. Streaming is still a popular thing
Oh,
that
yeah.
people like.
Yeah.
A new service is launching that has to have content based on our own self-possessed branded IPs. We'll get a Sonic TV show. What will we do with that? Well, let's get Idris Elba. He's a star.
Well,
Ben
I
Schwartz
think
isn't going to
those
move
are still
units.
good enough reasons to hire Keanu on for his own miniseries.
No, the thing is,
It does
there
feel
was a
less
contractual
like-
obligation from Sega's part that they're releasing Sonic 3 that year, so you also have to release Knuckles.
right? Yeah.
So we
It
can.
does feel less likely that we would get another Sonic streaming TV show on the fucking dead mall that is Paramount.
Yeah, but it's always been remarkable and surprising that they're making content for that thing.
Listen, there was a point in period in time where they were shoveling any old shite out on streaming services. And Paramount Plus is like dead. They've got Star Trek, they've cancelled Frasier. Is Yellowstone still
Yeah, they've
being
got all
made?
those Yellowstone shows.
There's not a lot of crossover between the Yellowstone Sonic audience.
Not that much.
Okay, so Paramount want to.
The blue stone, the red stone, the cyan stone, the magenta stone.
So if you want to sell tickets to Paramount Plus, we want to sell subscriptions,
Yeah.
and you happen to have a really popular film,
Yeah.
do a spin-off series, get Keanu Reeves on.
Thinking on it, we're talking about the next movie being like a time travel film.
Yeah,
We can call it Sonic Generations.
yeah,
And then we can have Sonic and Shadow
Yep.
Generations.
yeah,
This is how it works.
yeah.
This is Sega are thinking ahead of us.
I do want them to start giving the film subtitles now, though. But I think they've revealed the logo, and it's just Sonic 4.
Sonic 4, yeah.
There was a Sonic 1, 2, 3, therefore it's okay. But I think they should have different titles now.
Well, especially since, like, they've now moved out of the numbers that have any
That have a game anyone cares
good
about. Yeah,
broader
Yes,
meaning.
but
yeah.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like Sonic 3 the movie, great. I know it's not Sonic 3 the movie, but still, Sonic 3 the
yeah.
movie. Who's excited about Sonic the Hedgehog 4 the movie?
Yeah. If anything, like that should be an off-putting name.
I don't know. I
Ugh,
feel
Sonic
like
4. Do you remember that?
one day we were going to go back to the day when you could be honest when you were making a sequel film, instead of calling it, Redemption or or just rebooting it and
Yeah.
having it just be called the original name. No, why can't we have a something 7 anymore? Sonic the
I mean,
Hedgehog may be the series to get us back there.
Maybe.
Well, it's true, but it's a simple reason is that decades, scores of years
Yes.
of films doing that, every single series that's ever had numbered sequels ever, they're all shite by the time you get to 7.
Yes.
And that's what people associate
Yes.
high numbers at the end of
Yeah.
films with.
And quite
Things that have
rightly.
stuck around for so long and degenerated into absolute pish.
Meanwhile-
so that's why we don't have numbered sequels anymore.
Meanwhile, the only series sort of long running enough to make me even think of it when I imagine Sonic films carrying on beyond the 3 point, which is already further than they should go, is James Bond, and they didn't have numbers.
No,
they
they've never had
just
numbers.
titles.
Yeah,
So yeah.
And also, it's when you hear Sonic 4, it's like, the physics are probably going to be broken in this one. Like, it just doesn't roll down hills
Well,
properly
that's
anymore.
listen. How else are you going to achieve time travel if you don't break physics?
There you go. They might even make that reference.
Tyson will know.
Let's get out of here. I think that's enough of that.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
So you should go and listen to our other things then. This is
Yes.
this is part of Sonic the Comic, the podcast. Some people may be looking at this who only know my YouTube channel because that's what we're on, I think. So this is a podcast. That, by the way, that's why I've not done YouTube in a long time as well. I've been editing really hard this podcast. It's a good podcast. Sonic the Comic, the podcast. You can find it at stctp.zone, Sonic the Comic podcast, stctp.zone. But you can just type Sonic the Comic, the podcast in. That's what me and Chris are from. Chris, also, do you want to plug the basics?
Yes, sir. Transformers The Basics, right here on YouTube. Why, you can click over to my channel and find a new video just uploaded this morning.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Transformers lore for fans of all ages, filling you in on everything that's happened in the last 40 years in nice, bite-sized, digestible, easily explainable, understandable videos.
Yes, and that's kind of what STCTP is, only in a much longer-winded way.
Much longer size.
Sonic has been completely retconned, and we're talking about the way he originally was, and the comic based on how he originally was. It's a sort of portal into the 90s. You can
People
also
ask
get
me to
some
do like
some
Sonic
benefits
Basics,
from
and I couldn't, you know.
No.
I don't know enough. I haven't consumed enough of the Keystone media to be able to do that. You could do it if you knew enough
Somebody
and
could.
had my ability for summation, which you know, I mean, there are videos out there of but
Well, there's less to some, isn't there? Because
yeah,
it's
some,
not
but
like...
a lot of videos about any fandom about lore take a lot of stuff as read that
Yeah.
don't contextualize,
Yeah.
and that's important.
That's yes. What you need is someone who can speak coherently, even though they're a fan of something, which is
Talk to normal
very
people.
rare.
Jahan has content you can go and listen to as well.
Yes, you can find
Yes.
me on the Serious Distance podcast, which I co-host with Dave.
It's actually me as well. I was
yeah,
self-serving.
that was actually another plug for you in disguise.
Yep.
We talk about Disney movies, by and large, the live-action remakes, but also sometimes the real cartoons.
Yeah.
We still in the works of processing
Yes.
is the Moana 2 review.
There's one in the can now.
Still not watched it yet.
Nah.
It's all right, but you can hear more about.
How
You
it's
can hear us
all right.
elaborate on how it's all right
Yeah.
for several hours with the next episode of
It's like a
Serious Distance.
4-hour-long episode, I think.
And yeah, you can hear me on there, or you can find me on social media at Mouse Talica. I'm still clinging to the sinking ship.
Oh,
that
God,
is-
are you really?
Because it's the only place where people are regularly posting Sun Bear pictures.
That's neither here nor there. Get over in the blue sky.
There's no Sun Bears there.
You're the Sunbear Man,
You're not
then.
searching
You get to be
properly.
king of the
You
Sunbears. Post the pic.
start that.
I don't have access to the...
SeriousDisness.wigglehe.com is the address for that. But so therefore, just type it in. Type it into a podcast search. Serious Disness. There's no Z's in there. It's all S's. Serious Disness. All S's. And that's how you'll find that. It's dead good. It's
It is.
I know there's loads of people who really like SCTV and don't listen to that. It's just as good. Listen
Yep.
to it. It's more of the content you like.
People like it.
And less of the content you don't. I'm implying.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. Sonic 3. Well
It's
done,
good.
everybody. It was good.
It was good.
That's good.
It
all right.
retroactively improved Sonic 1.
I think it retroactively improved Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Just incredible, impossible achievement after incredible, impossible achievement.
Certainly retroactively improved 2 Robotniks, Gerald and Maria, both previously a load of rubbish.
It's amazing how, like, with this passage of time that we receive this new information that changes our opinions.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well, we'll see how
we
that
lived and learned.
Oh, God.
Dun, dun,
What's he
dun,
on
dun,
about? Where's he going with this? All right.
I thought you were going to make a time travel.
Which shall I just
Just
stop
keep
it?
doing it and press the button. Keep making the music and then push the.
End.